Good morning.
Wow.
That's like a rock star.
I don't get to shout.
Anyway,
You have a microphone.
thank you for being at the October 24th Board of Commissioners meeting. We will have the... Oh, we'll fix that later. It's vibrating through my phone.
I thought it was just turning off your speaker there.
Yeah, anyway, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm one of Sats.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Main's computer was doing some feedback thing, and I thought I'd just reach over and fix it, and I shut down his go-to meeting. So
He did a fixed, which is a positive thing. Okay, 3A, monthly report on homeless response. Andrew Brainerd, Director.
It's okay to have a guest with us.
Sure.
Project manager.
Come on
So,
down.
Just started today, so.
good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Andrew.
Good morning.
How are you? Doing well.
Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, staff. Just like to give you a brief update of currently what's going on.
Mhm.
As you know, with the support of the county, we represent House Bill 4123, which gives us opportunities to help with the unhoused and opportunities for those that want a better life. And I just want to go over a mission statement, and I like to read this a lot so everybody gets it. Yes, Commissioner.
You want to introduce your fellow
I can
employees?
jump into that right now. Yes.
Please.
Want to welcome our new project manager, Mr. Eric Shermer. Today is his first day, and would you like to talk about yourself just real brief?
Hello, I'm happy to be here. I've been doing project management, mostly in adult and continuing education, for about 10 years. And I'm very much looking forward to bringing those skills to serving the community.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome, Eric.
Okay, go ahead.
Our mission statement is the residents of Coos County will work together to address the root cause of houselessness, understand and support the struggles of our neighbors, and build pathways to ensure the region can provide stable, affordable housing. And every resident can contribute to a proud community and prosperous economy. So, some of the things I like to talk about also, as we just mentioned, we have our new staff member, our project manager, Eric Shermer. We recently also hired a grant manager, grant writer that's well known, especially in Coos County. His name is Michael Couch. And hopefully by the end of this week, we will have our administrative assistant to help us within our program as well. And so we're working on that. Some of the good things that have come, and I'm going to talk about some things going forward. So far, our board has been very active. As you may know, David Gills is now part of our board and has been a huge contributor from Advanced Health, and it's been working out great. Technical assistants have been improving our communication among the state of different funding projects. So you may know that we have been awarded $1.9 million to create 8 shelter beds and rehouse 32 households in Coos County. So that's one of the main things we've been working with. I've been continually working with our monthly community resource groups, faith-based, our primary care, and also our tribal and veterans group as well. Some of the things I talked about from the last time I was here is we've been ongoing working on a peer sport perspective program. It's been going well. We give credit to Kyle Brown and Operation Eagle of Hope and leading that group, and now it's to be in the direction to help with our law enforcement that are on the streets. It'd be a handoff program to let our officers continue with the emergencies going on and helping those that do want to help out and giving them more fair share of time on the streets and contributing to that. Another thing that we're looking at right now, and Eric's going to be helping out with, is one of the things that we have a lack of is trying to find out different housing programs, how many beds are available to be part of the program. And so we want to find a program that will allow us to track to see what is available and what's not available as well. And our faith base has been strong. They've been continuing to work to find different funding for opportunities for either food pantry ideas or helping out with different projects in the county. One of the things that we had learned from the state is the homeless management information system. That is a huge part of defining different what the homeless are needs for those that want help, and it will help out with grant funding as well in the future. Something that is coming up right here soon, and we're going to be meeting here monthly, is with the pit count. The pit count is a point in time count. Last year, the numbers, as you well know, were a little off, and so we want to contribute to have a team that can help with the process of that PR and engagements to keep everybody informed of what's going on with that project as well.
Andrew, can you speak just a moment to what you mean when you say the numbers were a little off?
With the lack of, I believe, volunteers and the lack of communication, the numbers of homeless were off compared to other numbers of different research from other people. And so we want to make sure that doesn't happen this go around. We want to make sure that those that want to be informed and help out with the count will overall see better future, hopefully for, like I said, for those that want to get help, we're able to help them financially.
So that number came in lower than reality?
Yes, sir.
By how much?
I don't know, but it's a pretty big percentage, but I can find out on that as well. You're welcome. So that's continually going on. I just finished up our legislative report that is reported every year for our state through HB 4123, with also the assistance of our advisory board as well. I've been continually doing presentations on the strategic plan. So far, I've worked with the Rotary, the Salvation Army, the Lions Club, Advanced Health, Kiwanis, and people are continually wanting to help out. I believe that with our core groups of our community resources, our numbers go up and go down. I would love to see more success in that, and if people want to get involved to be a part of one of those groups, feel free to contact me anytime. We just want to see our county continue to grow together and see less homeless people on our streets. So as of that, I'm open up to questions.
Could you comment briefly on the $1.9 million that we received it was from the state? You didn't point that out.
Yes, sir.
From the state.
And that's a help from Governor Kotex as well. So part of that $1.9 million is to, like I say, to have 8 shelters and to also rehouse 32 people as well. By saying that, later on in the meeting, we've taken a look at different things, and you're going to hear about an upcoming project with your approval to house children and their families that are homeless that want to have a better life. And Major Kaufman will be speaking on that today, and that will help with all those numbers.
Okay. What? Anything?
Is there anything that that we as a board of commissioners could be doing to help support you in your mission that is lacking. So, how can we serve that process with you better? Is there anything?
We're fortunate. We want to thank Commissioner Sweet. He's been attending all of our meetings and has been looking at different opportunities. There's more than just a Salvation Army project that we're looking at. As you well know, as myself, I'm about kids and families, and I think this is a huge project from starting there. But overall, I've been very adaptable to working with all the county commissioners, and if we need help in the process down the road or at times, I feel willing to ask for it for sure, and appreciate the support that we've had so far as well.
Great.
And I would just like to say thank you to Andrew. He provided great leadership to this endeavor. I think we're somewhat unique in getting that $1.9 million distributed to a rural county. I'm not sure the state has been that generous with counties other than urban counties.
And I will say that the first time that we had asked requests for money, we were denied, but with the leadership of our advisory board and the work they had worked with the state, we at least get a portion of that money that we've asked for. So I want to thank our leaders and county commissioners for their support.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Questions from the audience? Vanessa, come on forward.
This is Vanessa Rains from Myrtle Point, gotta remember that. Have you guys found any land from a city or from a county that can be used for you said a pallet, you're going after a pallet facility. I have another idea that came to me when someone told me that I had an old trailer from 20 years ago that I needed to pay a whole bunch of money to Mass Brothers. They're sitting on about 75 camper trailers in storage in Reedsport. And those could be taking the better ones, because what they do is they have to decommission all those and they pay DEQ and all sorts of stuff to take them apart.
Mm-hmm.
But those trailers can be custom made or refurbished, just kind of like the old Airstreams or something of that nature. But you have to have the land and you have to have a hookup, you've got to have that. And if there's places in RV parks or something of that nature, as long as they're supervised in those areas, that might be a suggestion that I would make.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Thanks.
May I make comment?
Sure.
From the last meeting, and I've worked with Commissioner Taylor on this as well, is finding maybe possibly different areas that we can allow a couple campsites, right, to be managed in certain ways. Is that correct, Commissioner Taylor?
That's right.
And could that be something, the possibility that she was talking about that we could look in the future?
It's possible that those concepts could be combined. Yeah, and what Andrew is referring to for the benefit of the audience is going back. Many of you will be familiar with this. The idea of possibly utilizing like a road host program for homeless RV campers to be able to park at the apron of one of our county forest roads and provide some access control that would facilitate opening that road and also provide a place for that RV to stay, because many of these older RVs are not able to be parked in an RV park or anywhere else because those properties won't accept those units, where this could be an alternative that would work. And I appreciate the idea of combining those two ideas. It's a good one.
And Commissioner Taylor and Commissioner Sweet, whoever wants to be part of that project, I would love to share that information with Eric and maybe see if we can move forward with that project and come up with a plan.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, come on up.
Teresa Avery, Bandon. And when you look at homelessness and you say you look at a population of a certain area, and then you look at what sort of homes or dwellings are actually available to rent or to buy. Do you have the numbers as far as where those two intersect? And the other question is does your agency, with what you're working on, work at all towards with government agencies that are hindering so much, where people cannot be building, so that this is one of the reasons, it's not the only reason why this is happening.
I'll comment on that. So I just talked with Matthew Bonnerstraw, the Coosa Prairie Housing Director. One of the ideas that he said, because of the lack of housing, is actually possibly developing homes that would love to operate as a place for somebody to rent within their home, so it could actually clear up some of the housing vouchers. That's one of the things we have spoke on, and that's one of the things we can take a look at. And like I said, I continually work with our government and our nonprofits, different ideas and plans to bring forward for the current housing crisis. One thing I do want to mention, and I don't want to take the thunder away from Major Coffman, but with the project of Salvation Army, it's actually not going to be pallet shelters. It's actually going to be tiny homes. And I just want to make that clear, that this is actually a step up and not a step back. So.
Okay, anybody else? Rob Taylor?
While Rob's coming up, I'll just ask you quickly, are you talking about people renting out one room of their home?
Yes, sir. And then they would be able to use a housing voucher for that.
Yeah.
Rob Taylor from Bandon, and be it beyond me to break up the Kumbaya session. I'm personally thinking House Bill 4123 is a scam perpetrated by the state on the taxpayers of this country, or this state, I should say. And, you know, it's just like government: problem, reaction, solution. They cause the problem, they control the reaction so that they can get the developed solution that they desire. I mean, if we truly wanted to fix homelessness, the legislature had bills in there that would eliminate some of the regulation on building and constructing housing. They would have loosened up land use restrictions that we have in this country, and they would have helped get rid of a lot of the development fees and other taxes that we have for development itself. And now we're in a situation where we got a country that's $33 trillion in debt. We had to increase the interest rates to control the inflation, which now you're looking at 8% just to get a loan to buy a house. And I myself am helping several families, keeping them from going homeless. The problem is a lot of these people aren't homeless because they of you know what those causes are. A lot of those people are homeless because of mental illness, because of drugs, and they need to be in prison, or they need to be in a mental facility, and giving them housing is just enabling this problem even more. And what we're doing really isn't helping the people who have houses, who have mortgages, who have rents to pay. This isn't helping them to take more and more property out of the tax roll by housing people who don't give a real damn if they have a house or not. They just want to be enabled by the rest of society. They've given up. And it's not fair the rest of us should have to pay for this. It's not fair we should have to give up more public lands to derelicts who want to camp out and live a lifestyle in the woods. And it's very frustrating when I hear this stuff, and I don't blame you, Andrew, and I don't blame you, but I'd like to know what Andrew's getting paid. I'd like to know what this gentleman's getting paid, and all the rest of them. I think that should be public information. I think that we should know when this money is being spent, and when we start giving more and more of this money to 503Cs and the other nonprofit groups, guess what? They can hide where that money's being spent. So I'm frustrated by the whole thing. I'm not getting the kumbaya, warm feeling in my heart. All I see is, once again, people being called, your mission statement, we're being allowed to be involved in the process. Yeah, I'm getting my money ripped off on a huge basis, and I'm getting sick of it. As the taxpayer, I'm not a stakeholder, I'm a stake payer, and some of them are stake takers, and we should define that. But no, we want to be everyone kumbaya, stakeholders, everyone love everyone. And personally, I'm getting sick of it. I just think that you need to be very careful with these types of group because HB 4123 was a scam. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have an opinion or a question? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Stan Avery, Bandon. My wife and I, by choice, lived homeless for about a decade, and we were doing it as evangelists, very disciplined, but we were in with homeless people all over the nation, and we learned a lot about it. And there were a lot, the vast majority of people that it was very clear to us, homelessness. There is circumstantial homelessness, and there is behavioral homelessness. And the circumstantial homeless that is an easy fix. We've lost count of how many homeless people we have taken into our home, sometimes for, more than a year to get them on their feet. Most of them single moms who are the ones who need the most help. As a matter of fact, one of our greatest success stories is seated here today. But the vast majority of the homeless are there because of behavioral issues. And the problem is not homelessness. Homelessness is just the consequence of the behavior. It's an inevitable consequence, and it cannot be fixed. The behavior can be fixed with personal help and the grace of God. But unless you fix the behavior, the homelessness is an endemic consequence. And when you try to fix it by giving public resources, it exacerbates the problem. It doesn't, because it's just like, that's what you see is a huge growth of homelessness, focusing on the places where people are doing the most to prevent it. And that should be kind of the elephant in the room that we can see. Anyway, we put our money where our mouth is. We take in a lot of homeless people, and we did that with 9 kids that we raised. We had to be very careful, but we had a lot of great success stories. But we knew the ones that were homeless circumstantially and the ones that were homeless behaviorally. And we need to make those distinctions.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say that it's
Name and
Ken Cardwell, Allegheny, Oregon.
Okay.
Sorry.
Good.
This is really dear to my heart, this topic that we're talking about. I was homeless for 2 years when I was younger, in my teens. And to think that I wanted to be in that situation and that I liked living under a bridge or wherever is just ludicrous. Now, there are people out there that generally want to live that way, and I understand that. It's a choice. But he's right. To lump everybody into one basket, it just isn't fair. And especially single women with children, we need to be there to help them. We need to step up and to try to take care of them and be real careful about judging them. Also, part of the problem is we just deinstitutionalized a lot of these people years ago. And I know that because I worked in the system. And so you took these people that had lived in institutions their whole entire lives and turned them out on the street with nothing more than a goodbye. So you do have mentally ill people out there that they're not capable of taking care of themselves. So to lump everybody into one basket is just, it's not fair. And I do want to say that I have family in Cottage Grove, and they've implemented a system there where they're doing the little tiny houses. They have, it's fenced. It doesn't look like a prison, but it definitely looks like it's structured. You know, they aren't willing, they can't just come and go, but they have porta potties. They have cleaned up Cottage Grove considerably, and it's working. I don't know where the land came from. I don't know the logistics of it, but I do know that there's a way to help some of these people who actually want help. And so I just want to say, please be careful about lumping everybody into one category because it's just not fair.
Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, David? Oh, yeah.
Amy Manuel Murphy, part of the Dyking District, Inglewood. I have a problem with the criminal homeless. That's what I have a problem with. I have a problem that they're coming and they're going and they're getting all these funds that are just magically appearing when there are a lot of problems in Coos County that need to be addressed that are not just for homeless and housing. There are infrastructure issues. I'm sure Mr. Sweet's very well aware of the Inglewood Dyking District. And these monies just keep appearing for them. You know, and it's heartbreaking to sit there and watch my neighborhood go downhill with the criminal homeless. And these places that are being supported, like Devereaux, seem to be not concerned with the criminal element that they're attracting or following rules that they're supposed to. Just yesterday, there was an overdose in their backyard. These things need to be controlled somehow, and they need to be looked at to where we can end up either putting them where they belong when they're stealing and doing drugs and hurting and making the people in the county fear for themselves. You know, these $1.8 million that they're coming up with to give to the homeless and telling people, oh, well, you're just going to have to deal with it. These are where they're coming and this is what we're going to do for them and we're going to house them. You know, there needs to be a demand that if people are going to create housing for them and people are going to do things for them to help them, there needs to be a demand that they also have to be able to give them some kind of structure, some kind of mental health, and some kind of housing for jails if they're going to allow the criminal element to be there too. Because we don't need to fear for our property and everything we've worked for while we're paying our taxes in order for them to be able to run away and do whatever they want to do. Because I'm completely against paying $1,000 more from 2 years ago on my home taxes for urban renewals and ports and all this other stuff when I know that all my efforts are going to help people that don't really want help. There are few and far between that are not needing mental health or drug rehab or something. And when you're hungry and you're on drugs, the worst thing that's going to happen, you're going to end up a criminal, you're going to end up stealing, you're going to hurt other people. And those hardworking people that are supporting them don't deserve to get what's happening to them in Coos County. We deserve a clean, nice place that all the free handouts don't end up on our streets, that we don't have to clean them up. And we deserve to have people that, if you want that money, you want those things to help these people, then you have to be able to provide mental health services, drug rehab, and so on. They should not be allowed to bring these places up, get donations, get government money if they're not going to require them to provide those services. That's all I'm asking.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a quick comment. From the outside, it probably looks like money just being handed out to everyone on the street. That's not the case. We have our own Coos Health and Wellness, which is a mental health and public health department, has a lot of homes, a lot of counseling. So if there's other efforts, you just don't see them. The residents that we'll be talking, residences that we'll be talking about here a little later today, involve the Salvation Army, and those are homes for families, women with children.
I do understand that, and I'm
there'll be
grateful.
counseling involved, and so I want you to know, not this money that we're getting from the state to deal with some of these issues is directed to a lot to counseling. And some of it's for mental illnesses, some of it's for addiction services.
And I do
And so
appreciate
there's a lot
that.
of effort going on in that regard.
My son has had mental health issues, and I've dealt with Coos County Health and Wellness, and there's not a whole lot that they can do or will do, and not a lot of services that are available for these kids. So that's what I'm asking. If you're going to provide extra places for people to live that are living on our tax dollars while they are trying to get better or rehab or whatever, I think it should be part of the qualification for them to get that money to help people should be that they have their own mental health services, their own counselors on site, and people to handle the criminal element or screen people the proper way before they're allowed to receive these free services.
I think Andrew can comment on that, because a lot of these services are with counseling and addiction services and counseling.
So first off, thank you for being here today. And then secondly, here shortly at the new meeting with the Salvation Army plan, everything that you had spoke on, that you say we have a lack on, is all built in the plan. They have to be approved before they partake in the program. So I don't want to steal the thunder from.
What is the approval process though?
You'll find out here soon. With I don't want to take away from Major Kaufman, but you'll find out with his presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you.
David, you're next.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is David Jennings. I'm from Coquille. I want to make a couple of quick points, some of which have already been made, but I think we need to underline them. First of all, homeless population is very diverse. There is a significant portion of it that has addiction and mental health issues. Those issues need to be addressed, they're difficult to address, and it becomes extremely difficult, at times impossible to do that when somebody's homeless because they're hard to locate, they frequently move, and for all sorts of different reasons, it's very difficult to provide mental health services and addiction services to people that don't have a permanent address. Now, it has been suggested that many of these people should be in prison or in mental institutions. Just in general, I disagree with that, except for a certain part of the population. But one reality you have to be aware of, prison beds and mental health beds are far more expensive than housing for homeless people. Now, if you want to go that direction, fine, but there's no source of money to pay for that unless you're willing to pay taxes. Now, in terms of criminality, certainly there at times is a lack of accountability for all sorts of classes of criminals in this county. On the other hand, if you want to crack down on people that are homeless, not always, but a good deal of the time what they have is crimes that, first of all, given the lack of jail space in our county jail, they wouldn't even be admitted. Or if they're admitted, they would be likely to be released. So I don't see that as a solution. And if you want to get a handle on the mental health, the drug addiction, and certainly the people through no fault of their own or because of some personal problems don't rise to the level of mental health, those people certainly deserve housing. And more housing is absolutely crucial to solve this problem, because you don't just solve it by saying, well, we don't want to pay for this housing. You people just go away. Well, where they're going to go away is just to roam the streets and perpetrate the problems that have been discussed here. So I think you have to have a rational policy that contains addiction treatment, mental health services, other services to hook people up with things they need, and has accountability, but you're not going to do that unless you have housing. So anyway, it's a difficult problem, but I think if you think rationally about it, this kind of program makes sense. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, Diane Rich from North Bend. You know, I understand drug addiction, all of these things, and that there are absolutely different categories of homeless people. I don't think there's a question there. But what I do ask is that out of the 1.8 million, with all of the crimes that happen in my neighborhood, specifically all the gas that's been stolen out of my Tahoe, I'd like to know what part of that 1.8 million gets to go to the sheriff so he can lock some people up that are causing the crime that is associated with the homeless, that is causing us all this issue. Most of us don't have any hatred towards the homeless. What we have is hatred to having our taxes come out of our pocket to pay for people that come back and steal our gas. I think this needs to be addressed. So out of that 1.8 million, how much are you going to give the sheriff to house these people that are stealing my gas?
So this is the newly amounts of money for the county. So it's still in the process to figure out different ideas to come up with.
Okay, so you keep in mind that there are very few people in this room that aren't suffering from some type of crime based on the amount of homelessness and the crime that exists within the homeless in Coos County. So please, please keep it in mind that we want them locked up. When they commit a crime, there has to be consequences. It can't be the jail is too full, we don't care, they can come back next week and steal my gas again, because I'm getting really tired of it.
I think moving forward, that we'll work with our sheriff and find out different projects to help make things more.
And then
safer.
on your side, guys, we gotta have permitting that's cut. The time I'm getting permits, the time I'm getting things through to build homes has to be fixed. We can't keep saying, well, you know, we got a lot of homeless. Well, there's a reason why we have a lot of homeless, and that's a lack of housing. And until we completely address that and we change those rules and regulations, we'll just keep having this problem. And I, for one, am sick of feeding it. I don't want to have 1.8 million of my tax dollars going to this when we know there's a reason this problem started. We need to do both ends. So I don't get my gas stolen anymore. I hate them most. Thanks.
Anybody else? Ma'am in the back. It's okay. I might say while you're coming out. I had one of these folks that you're talking about attack my house with a baseball bat here a few weeks ago. Fortunately, the ring caught him, and he's well known for most law enforcement people.
So Irene Harlow from Allegheny, and all I want to say is my mom turns 80 next month, and I'm scared to let her even go to the store, and I'm constantly asking her to lock the door when I leave. And I put cameras up in her house. I think enough said there.
Yep. Thank you. You know, a little comment. I was in Wyoming here just a little bit ago, and there's no homeless. There's no building codes. There's no electrical permits, plumbing permits, structural permits, no inspections. There's no handouts for anybody. You go live on your own and make the best way you can, but they don't have all that stuff. Same way in Texas. No building codes. You build what you want. Obviously, if you're going to buy one of those, you need to have it thoroughly inspected, but there is none of that, by the way. And you don't see in Montana, I saw a couple of homeless people. Didn't see any in Idaho. None in Wyoming. None in South Dakota. None. There's all kinds of things that contribute here on the West Coast of California, Oregon, Washington. One of them we wrote a resolution against was this Measure 110. Any kind of drug goes and it's just fine. So what do? They flock here. And then they create other problems because they don't have a source of income. So what happens? Anybody else? Tough job.
Thank you for the opportunity this morning.
Eric, you're not scared off it yet, are you?
Not quite yet.
Okay.
All right. On. Yeah. Yes. Yes. There's one. Yeah. 5A. Yeah. All right. Moving on to 3B. Request approval amendment number 5 to OHSU sub-grant award 1015198. And authorize Mike Rowley, the head of Coos Health and Wellness Society. Mike.
Morning, Commissioners. This is an award for our home visiting program, specifically Cocoon, which is a care coordination program of $15,443.
Okay, motion.
I move we approve the Fifth Amendment to the sub-award agreement 1015198 with OHSU and authorize Mike Riley to sign.
Second. Discussion?
So this is just state money routed through OHSU. Nothing else about it. That's all. That's easy.
Correct. And this is additional funding, so they've incrementally given us funding for this program.
Okay. Audience, anything? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Okay. 3C, request approval of purchase of 24 Toyota Camry for 2 cell phones.
Yeah, so we are in the market for another vehicle. So we are requesting to buy a Toyota Camry, a brand new one, not to exceed $31,000 from Clint Newell Toyota.
Okay, motion.
I move we approve the purchase of one 2024 Toyota Camry for an amount not to exceed $31,000 through Clint Newell Toyota.
Second.
Second.
Discussion?
Were there other vehicle models looked at in this? I'm wondering because a Camry is kind of in the upper portion of Toyota's product line. And I'm wondering why that is, why we're not looking at a Corolla.
I think is because we need to have room for all type of staff and clients, and so we wanted to get more of a mid-sized car than a smaller car.
So clients.
Program that this will be used for.
Well, we have a variety of programs. This one is for our mobile response stabilization services.
Which incidentally is a service where we have mental health counselors that can be embedded with officers, patrol officers, to help deal with patients or citizens that are mentally ill. Is that not right?
Right.
So I want to put this out that there's a lot going on to address mental health issues.
Of course, if there wasn't a whole lot of them released from the state and put back in the community to cause problems in the community, we wouldn't have that need. Just my personal opinion. Anyway, you had some more?
Nope.
Any comments from the audience? Now, I do have a question. Are these on state purchasing, or you just went out for bids?
We just went out for bids.
Okay. All right. You do realize that the state has a whole program for these vehicles,
We do.
and they're substantially less normally.
Okay. We've had some problems in the past with state purchasing, which is why we're going the route we have.
Getting deliveries,
What's that?
having availability.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, 3D, request approval of OBDD grant
Thanks, Mike.
agreement for Midway Pavilion project. Authorize chair to sign approved resolution making additional appropriations for the fair.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Darius, Candy.
Hi. Oh, they know me.
Introduce yourself, please.
Hey, I'm Candace Bomber with Coos County Fair and Rodeo Board.
And I'm Darius Poudelier. I'm also on the Coos County Fair and Rodeo Board.
Real
We're glad you recognize that.
What are my feelings?
So this morning we're coming to you, the state of Oregon legislature put aside some money to be administered through Business Oregon for capital improvement at all fairgrounds in the state. We put together a project. Oh, did you want to get them? We put together a project to build a 40 by 60 pole barn at the fair. It's a timber frame pole barn. Timber frame pole barn. It would be used for seating and then events outside of the fair possibly. We submitted our project to them and they approved it. this resolution is asking for you guys to accept the grant for this project, so we can get started. We also, just for one last time, you've kind of seen some of this before, but wanted you guys to get one more look at it, and make sure that you guys are all on board with what we're doing here.
Okay.
Okay. Move to approve and authorize chair to sign the OBDD grant agreement, approve the Midway Pavilion project plans, and approve and sign resolution 23-10-229B.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Discussion?
Yes. Thank you. Very. A
Was
lot
that a
of work has
question?
gone into it. And to explain to the people in the audience what this is, this will be centered around where all the food service in the county, at the county fair goes on. So that when you get your food, largely now from food trailers, you'll have a comfortable place in the shade to go sit down at tables there. They'll be clean. We tried it with a temporary solution, a tent, and it was very successful. And I particularly want to thank Candy for her effort in coming up with this pavilion. It's wonderful. It'll be a great addition to our fairgrounds.
And it
And it's
doesn't have to be.
$277,000 of non-county money.
And now the county doesn't have to rent the tent anymore.
And
True.
Yeah.
I have one other comment to make. It's truly designed to be a community gathering place. It'll be able to be used in the off-season. We'll have some patio, some seating that goes with it. The Myrtle Point Rotary, along with the Fair Board, came up with new picnic tables that we'll be able to use underneath our pavilion and around the pavilion, where you've looked into dog watering and people watering stations, so you can fill your water bottle instead of just using a fountain or disposable water bottles, with a little dog watering station down low. The fairgrounds gets used extensively for people that walk and just want to spend some leisure time outdoors on fairly flat ground in the off season. So it's more than just for the county fair. It's to be used year round, and we'll set up some methods so you can be able to rent the space also and develop some parking with it.
And I did want to add, we're building this in response to the food booths that used to exist at the fair. Unfortunately, they deteriorated to the point where we could not repair them any longer, and they weren't even close to meeting code. We, over the last 4 or 5 years, have looked at different ways that we can replace those food booths, because they are near and dear to the citizens of Coos County. But because of the fact that that area is in the floodplain and all the other health and building code and all the other, it was just financially impossible to rebuild those in a similar fashion to the way they were before. This is a compromise that is doable for us. The last thing we want to do is start a project and not be able to complete it. So this is a way we can do it. We can leverage the food vendors and the food trucks from the area, and some that travel from out of the area. And we're doing our best now to accommodate those civic organizations that we're using that space, providing them with low-cost alternative space that they can continue to use their fundraising projects.
I might add that I miss the Scout scones and the wild blackberry pie at the Bridge Range. And most importantly, I was having lion burgers before I was born.
When they were really made out of lion?
Yeah.
Oh,
But
okay.
it was that
No,
long.
yeah.
I really miss that.
Trust me, Candy and I have spent, there was another group that tried to do it, and Candy and I spent probably a couple of years trying to figure out with John a way to get that to work, and just the topography and
We got the
whole
Bridge
thing.
Range teamed up though with the Purple Cow. Outside the Purple Cow, we developed an area for the Bridge Range to set up and serve breakfast this year. And they were quite successful. And they were one of the displaced civic organizations.
And I guess in the future months, there's going to be some more announcements about the fair.
There are. We're pretty busy down there trying to make better use of the fairgrounds, because as you know, Myrtle Point is not making any more land, so that's not an option. But we're trying to get everything in and keep the neighbors happy, and keep the local law enforcement and the local government and all that, make everybody happy and make the fair a good experience. We had a good time last year with the concerts. They were pretty well attended. We're going to be shifting some things around to try to make that more efficient. Parking is a challenge, so if you guys know of any parking lots in Myrtle Point, buy them. But we're working with the school district that provides transportation. So we're working with the manager of the transportation department to see if we can find some offsite parking and then publish that so everybody knows where it is and get people in there so they're not having to fight to get a parking space and get in and out.
Hey, I made a tour with Renelle. The bus with Renelle Allen Morris. I made a tour with her last week over there. We identified potential for about 300 parking places around Myrtle Point, and she'll set up and develop where the bus route could be. And she figures that these loops through the community will take about 15 minutes, so they can post that. And there needs to be better directional signs. Some of the signs that were put up this year at the county for the county fair for people like to park down at the port. The signs magically disappeared. And over 100 sites went unused down there. So we'll have to figure out something with the city of Myrtle Point, how to make sure the signs don't disappear in the future, and to tell people exactly where the port parking is. And there's a couple other spots.
Talk about the carts that you purchased for people going up the hill.
So we purchased 3 6-passenger gas-powered golf carts. And we've been for the people that are parking in town or using maybe the high school parking, but then it's a challenge for them to get down the 4th Street Hill. We've been helping to get them down there in a safe fashion so they can buy their tickets and not get hurt. And I think that was a great.
And get back up.
Yeah, and get back to their cars. Now, I want to let people know that we're doing that. They're parking other places. Some of them are parking at high school and paying the booster club or the athletics club money to park there. But we're helping to transport them down there safely so that everybody enjoys the fair.
Talk about the cooperative with the high school.
Space utilization. So for a couple of years, the high school was forced to tear down some of their classroom space. And so the fair has been providing space for them, temporary space for them to hold classes. I think we're going on 3-4 years now. We've made it very economically feasible as a community outreach, and the partnership. We've done a lot with the school back and forth. And so that's a cooperative thing. It's the space we normally use for the 4-H activity. So we've worked out an agreement where 4-H will use it for the month, and then we'll provide other space to the extension office for their activities. And then the school gets to use that space the other 11 months. They do pay the utilities on it, but I believe the rent is it's more of a, I want to say it's more of a symbolic gesture just so that they're not getting something for free, but we're also not digging into their rebuilding fund by charging them exorbitant prices.
It's a great example of governments working together for the overall benefit of the citizens.
We also have land for them to use for their baseball field out there, our main parking lot. The county fair also provides space for the Little League baseball teams, and I think the Babe Ruth team, there's a couple system for Little League and then slightly older kids. We have baseball areas for them, and then we also use our Midway for soccer for kids over there. It's a good price to them. We allow them to use our area.
We're very proud of our fair board. These are 2 of the fair board members. They dedicate a lot of time. They dedicate their whole lives during the fair, before, during, just after. It's a big job, and they've done so many good things.
It's a big job that it doesn't pay very well.
No.
I don't know. You get to spend a week at the fair with your family. That's a pretty good deal.
It's a great sacrifice for the benefit of the community. It's appreciated.
So apparently you're gonna repair more of the light poles that are coming. I heard a report that Pacific Power's gonna find a pole for it.
Yeah, John may know more about that.
Replaced, I believe, all but one.
Yeah, that's right.
Power poles.
One more is
that
coming.
House the lights that lit up the rodeo arena.
There's a bunch of projects going on. Couple other Fair Board members have been doing a lot over the last couple of years for the rodeo arena. There's a local nonprofit group that's done a tremendous amount of work in the equine area. There's a lot going on down there. A lot of money coming, even from outside.
Apparently you're gonna improve the metal bleachers where they have the 4-H auctions. You're gonna have backs on them now and side rails.
We're working on some safety features. Yeah, absolutely.
Lots of things going on.
Have you seen the barn? They re-ripped those barns. They put some clear panels in them so that when you're in there during the day, they are truly lit up. They aren't dark.
And apparently you're gonna fix up the foundation of Oaks Pavilion.
We're hoping.
We've got a bunch of irons in the fire. Yeah, we would, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. We would love to come back and give you guys some more updates as we get some of these projects done. But yeah, we could probably be here all day talking about some of the work we're doing.
And we failed to mention the 4-H livestock barn that went up. It's a 3/4 acre structure. Looking to add the other 1/4 acre here. It's been so successful that even that is not taking care of all the kids. Last year's 4-H auctions generated $1 million.
That's true.
People have been very generous.
Yeah, we got a great community.
And it comes, fair brings the goodness out on so many people. It's great. Anyway, we gotta get on.
Yep. All righty. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
3E, request award of contract for pit repairs for solid waste. Paul Slater.
Good morning.
Morning, Paul.
So we've got, you have a couple of pictures attached to the agenda item we got, showing some of the conditions out there, but just it's old part of the facility. There's a lot of corrosion.
Oh, we don't have
pictures. Oh, okay. I have.
That's okay.
It's all right. We know it's falling down.
Yeah, I mean, it's in really bad disrepair. We need to fix it before there's an accident out there. So we got 3 quotes from 3 local contractors. They're requesting the board approve the bid from HEMR here in Coquille for $22,144.
Move to approve the pit repair project to HEMR Industrial Contractors not to exceed $22,144 and authorize department head to sign the contract subject to approval by county council.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Only to let everyone know that solid waste is self-funding and these funds are all provided by the solid waste operations, not a penny of tax dollars.
Okay, audience participation? Anybody? No? All in favor?
Aye.
All righty. Moving on to 3F, request approval to declare rotary cutter as surplus and approve auctioning. Paul.
Another name for this would be a brush hog, goes behind a tractor, hooks up to a 3-point. It was purchased in 2018 with the hope that it would be shared between the Parks and Solid Waste Department. Parks, about 2 years ago, bought a mini excavator with a rotary cutting head on it. So they don't need it, and we, the road department, cut the grass that needs cut for solid waste. So it ended up not being used, and so we'd just like to auction it off. It's still in excellent condition. So we just need approval of auction.
And move to declare the Meyer rotary cutter as surplus and approved to sell or auction.
Second.
Okay. Discussion?
Appreciate you looking at this excess equipment as a way of evaluating and costing money. We don't, so thank you.
Audience? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 3G, request approval to auction a jaw crusher.
In 2021, this 2014 McCloskey jaw crusher was purchased by the road department for our weekly pit operation. We have reevaluated our operational needs up there at that pit, and we have made some modifications to our existing jaw that were substantially cheaper and able to use it for the foreseeable future, and then be able to sell this or auction it. Sorry. We've actually already been contacted by a company who's looking for this very kind of machine. So we believe we'll get reasonable bids on it and probably get something close to what we bought it for.
I move we approve auctioning the 2014 McCloskey jaw crusher.
Second. Second.
Discussion?
What was the original cost of that when we purchased it?
With the Oregon cat tax, it was $351,995. And we've talked to some companies the company that we bought it from, and also a couple other companies that sell this type of equipment, and we believe it'll bring a price that's very similar to that.
Okay. Any other? Nope. Audience? Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, 3H, first approval of resolution advancing. Oh, wait a minute, we got a late agenda item for road department. Go ahead, 5B.
So we were contacted by the Coast Guard. The county used to maintain what's known as Tower Lookout or Lighthouse Way or Lighthouse View Road. Some people call it Chicken Point. Goes to their outlook or their overlook buildings over the bay and the bar. They recently requested that we do some maintenance on that. It's something we can do in one day's worth of work. I provided them with an estimated cost to do that work. This is just an intergovernmental agreement between the county and the Coast Guard to do that work for a not to exceed amount of $10,172.
Motion?
I move we approve and sign the IGA for road repairs between the U.S. Coast Guard and Cruise.
Second.
Discussion? I know that road really needs it.
It's got some really big holes.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
can
in really
use
bad
it.
shape.
We should keep it. Makes our county go so good.
Some of those are quite deep.
Yeah.
Any discussion with the audience about it? No? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving back to 3H, first approval of resolution advancing taxes and assessments to certain districts' finance. Megan. Otherwise known as our tax collector, finance director, budget officer,
and treasurer.
The keeper of the coin.
ORS 311.392 allows the county to advance taxes and assessments to municipalities if it finds it to be economical. All the municipalities listed in the attached exhibit have imposed taxes of less than $5,508. It is more economical to advance them their taxes and be reimbursed as the taxes are collected. We will advance their imposed taxes less than 3% discount, and payment will be made prior to December 1st.
Okay, motion.
I move we approve resolution 2310-218.
Okay, second.
Second.
Discussion? This happens every year, if you don't know. For as long as I've been hearing it, that's been a while.
It's so we don't write checks for a
Yeah.
penny, basically.
Yeah.
Any discussion? Nope. Audience? Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
All righty. 3I, request approval of resolution closing U.S. Bank general checking account finance.
In March of 21, we moved all of our accounts to Umpqua because the local U.S. Bank branch closed. We had this one checking account left open to wait for checks to clear. All of the remaining checks have cleared or were sent to the state as unclaimed property. At this time, the account is no longer needed.
Okay, motion.
Move to approve and sign resolution 23-10-227B.
Second.
Discussion? No? Audience? No? All in favor?
Aye.
All righty, thank you. 3J, request approval order initiating a vacation for REA. Okay.
Morning.
Mhm.
Hello.
So planning is requesting order to initiate a vacation, which is planning application BAC-23-001, in the matter of the vacation of an undeveloped approximate 50-foot by 120-foot portion of platted Payette Street located between block 48 lots 1 through 4 and portion of vacated Kentucky Avenue in the amended plat of the Boise Addition subdivision, and block 15 lot 10 and a portion of lot 9 in the second addition to Bay Park subdivision.
I move to adopt order 23-10054PL in the matter of vacation of an undeveloped approximate 50-foot by 120-foot portion of platted Payette Street located between block 48 lots 1 through 4 and portion of vacated Kentucky Avenue in the amended plat of Boise Addition subdivision at block 15 lot 10 and a portion of lot 9 in the second addition to Bay Park subdivision.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Discussion with the audience.
I think it's great when we vacate a land that is not needed and put it in the use of our citizens who can use it, and then start paying taxes on that as well. It's a win-win all the way around. I love it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, you. 3K, request approval to deposit safe dividend check into general fund HR. Charity.
Hello.
Good morning, Gary.
Good morning. So SAFE declared a dividend this year, for last year, 2022, and the amount that is being given back to the county is $61,925.
Motion.
I move to approve depositing the dividend check into the general fund.
Second.
Discussion. Good job.
Very good job.
Any discussion in the audience? Hearing none,
I
all in
would
favor?
note that it wasn't several years ago, we were facing almost being, but not uninsured, but thrown out of a very favorable category of insured people, insured organizations, and our rates were reflecting that. And now we're getting dividends. The Institute of Safety Program and charities headed that up. The departments have bought in, and now we're getting dividends back and lower premiums. So thank you.
Good job.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
3L, request approval intergovernmental agreement with OEBB and author chair to sign HR council.
Yeah, so this is an IGA with Oregon Educators Benefit Board. Through this IGA, we get health insurance for two of our unions, ASPE Union, a part of ASPE Union, and our DDAs. This would just renew that relationship another year. The rates are rate increases are more predictable through this arrangement. We went up 3.4%, and it's likely to do that again next year.
Motion.
Move to approve the revised human resources, move to approve the intergovernmental agreement with Oregon Educators Benefit Board for health insurance coverage for county employees effective 10/1/23 and board chair to sign.
Okay, discussion? Discussion in the audience? All in favor?
Aye.
3M, request approval of revised job description and payroll resolution for HR officer.
Yeah, so the human resources officer position, the description has not been updated since 2018 and doesn't accurately reflect the duties that the position currently performs. So we're asking to approve the revised and updated job description, which does spell out the multitude of tasks that fall to the HR manager. and retitle the Human Resources Officer position to Human Resources Manager, and to approve the reclassification of the pay grade from 817 step 6 plus 3% to pay grade 787 step 4 plus 3% to more accurately reflect the duties and the level of responsibility the position performs. And we want to make this effective November 1st for an increase of $343 per month, approving this resolution 2310-219P. And I'll just follow that with making a motion to approve the revised Human Resources job description and pay grade, and approve and sign payroll resolution 2310-219P.
Second that.
Okay, discussion?
You know, our HR manager does a phenomenal job, and she carries a lot of responsibility, often in here working on the weekends, and this is really a move that is commensurate with the responsibilities of that position, and so it's a high time that we recognize that.
Okay, John?
Along with that recognition, I would just mention that just prior to fair, we lost our fair business manager, and our finance department and our HR officer volunteered to jump in and take care of the fair office during the period just preceding fair, on through fair, until we were able to hire a new fair manager or fair business manager. The HR person spent many evenings, many weekends down at the fair, filling in during that. She's been a great employee.
And I would add to that, Commissioner Sweet, that the people around the fair, vendors, attendees, and employees all said it was among the best, was it the best office it ever run. Is that not right?
I think
that's right.
Substitute staff, finance office, and our HR officer did just a fantastic job. Stepped right in and really left the fair office in better position than it has been a few years.
Yep, I heard the same thing. Anybody from the audience? Comment? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, 3N, discussion of possible public safety levy. John?
Yes. Oops, I gotta get the right piece of paper here. There we are. I would like to have the board's blessing with moving forward to gather information on a possible public safety levy for the May 2024 ballot. We need to figure out what costs would be covered by the levy, what the levy amount would need to be, and other pertinent information before asking the board to put this levy on the ballot. I can tell you that our county tax rate, not taxes that are levied by the airport or the port or other political entities, what we charge our citizens is the second lowest county operating rate in the state, and low by about a third. Not about a third, it's less, it's right around a third of what the average county charges. We've taken all reasonable steps that we could take to maintain a low county rate. However, you may recall a year ago we went out for a public levy. It failed. This year, when we were confronted with passing the budget for the year we're currently in, we had to dig into our reserves by $3.75 million. We cannot do that again. we're facing a crisis. We're continuing to look for other sources of money, other sources of revenue, and we will continue to do that. But you can't just, the day before the election, put together one of these tax levy requests. So we need time to prepare for it. And that's what I'm asking for, is that we start that process now so that we can come back to the board with a very specific levy, and the board can agree to take that to the public or not. So that's what I'm asking for. And so with that, I would move that we approve moving forward with information gathering only for a potential public safety levy to be brought back to the board for their approval or disapproval.
Second?
Second for discussion.
Okay.
So the financial problems are very real, and they're coming like a train on the track. There is no escaping it. It's coming, and so we have got to come up with a solution, some way to bridge that gap. My position has been that that a levy is not the approach that I would favor, and and that hasn't changed. But I think that with a dearth of information comes poor counsel, and so for the sake of gathering information, what's the public's temperature on this question? I am not opposed to the information gathering because with more knowledge comes more wisdom.
Now, some of you have heard this talk that I have multiple times, and some of you haven't, but the total property tax is supposed to cover the jail, the sheriff, dispatch, marine, dunes, all of the district attorney, except for the district attorney, mostly, we put in a little bit, mostly the state pays the district attorney, all the assessor's office, all the tax office, treasurer, elections, county clerk, survey, commissioner, county council, juvenile, etc. That $6 million that we collect, or a little over, doesn't even cover the cost of the jail at $7 million plus, if you don't know. So we scramble every year to try and find the funds to cover patrol, dispatch, assessor, etc. Part of that is through our county forest that we all own. About 17,000 acres or so. We have it on a sustained yield. We get anywhere from $3 to $6 million a year, depending on the market, out of that. But still, we get some grants and things, but it is a very difficult problem we have every year in budget committee. For next year, for the 24-25 year, our finance department has estimated we're going to be $4 million short. That means 90% of that represents salaries. Okay? We're down to 2 people in elections, 2 people in the county clerk, total of 4 people in the survey, 1 county council. There used to be, when I was the assessor a long time ago, there were 32 people. Now there's about 14, I think, maybe 13. Not anywhere to cut. I don't want to cut deputies, but we got to make some really difficult decisions if we don't find some funding someplace. It's not going to be a fun time being a commissioner or a person that is a lay person on the budget committee. It's just not going to be fun at all. So that's kind of my take on what's looming out there. And I've been fretting and waking up at night and in the morning trying to come up with solutions. I have a couple ideas, but it's not going to be the total solution, if it even works. I've still got to explore a couple of them that I've heard about here lately. But if you don't know, why the county has one of the lowest tax rates, second lowest tax rate in the state, is because we used to get ONC funds from cutting ONC timber of 2+ million acres out there. All 18 Western Oregon counties shared in those receipts. In the mid-'80s, in today's dollars, we got $25 million. No problem. We fund all kinds of stuff, right? Have all kinds of Japanese. You know how much we get now? 1.3. That's what it's cut. It's cut down to about 5% of what we used to get, or of the trees being cut is about 5% of what they used to cut. The proportions are based on how many acres of ONC ground you have in your county. Douglas County gets the largest share, of course. We get about not quite 6% of that total. So that's the crisis we're in, and rightly so. The commissioners didn't need to ask for an increase in the property tax because they had all this money coming in from ONC. It would be a disservice to the citizenry if they did. But those funds have now gone away. And for the wagon road, all those funds, which isn't much, $200,000-$300,000, goes into the county road department because it said for roads, bridges, and schools. And the school said we don't need it because every time you put a local dollar into the school budget, the state withholds $1 on this equalized funding thing. So all of that money, what little it is going into the road department. Any comments by the audience?
I'd like to make a comment first.
And then Rob after that.
This is hard to do. We've worked really, really hard on being financially responsible to the citizens of this county. And when 10 years ago, 11 years ago now, when I first came to work here, the groups of commissioners that were in office at that time were confronted with a huge problem. We had been named as one of the counties in the state who was going to fail. We had considerable debt. Our tax rate was $1.58 per thousand, including bond indebtedness. We had a $7 or $8 million unfunded liability because of open landfills. We got off the state's watch list for counties. We have no debt, or as of after we collect taxes here in November, we will pay off the last remaining little bit of debt we had, which was for a public safety emergency communication system that our sheriff's department put together and the citizens approved. We will have no more debt. We have eliminated all but $1 million of the solid waste unfunded liability, and the remaining $1 million is fully funded out of solid waste operation. Head count in the county has been reduced from around 550 people to down to 350 people, and it would be probably closer to 300 were it not for the buildup in mental health and public health revenues coming from the federal government. I think I said earlier, our tax rate after we make this last payment on our emergency communication system will be $1.08 per $1,000 of assessed value. The average county in the state has a tax rate of $3.51. more than 3 times what ours will be. We've generated about $3.5 million of sustainable non-tax revenues in the last 10 years. I don't like tax increases, but I don't know where to go. We're making it a public safety levy specifically to fund, at this point, we'll finalize this during the study we just authorized. We would go to fund the district attorney's office. Currently, I think we have the district attorney and 3 or 4 assistants. Normally, we have 7 assistants. We're 1,500 cases behind. And we throw away most of the cases that aren't for something that's pretty big. You know, you've got Diane mentioned having gas fuel from her car. No, we can't even touch that. We don't have the capacity. We got to concern ourselves with murderers and rapists and whatever. Not because we don't want to deal with that, because we haven't the resources. So this is, and you look at the public safety system in the county. You know, you have to have patrol, you have to have the district attorney, you have to have the jail, you have to have parole and probation, you have to have juvenile. 4 of those, and we share the responsibility for patrol with the cities and the state police, but the other 4, district attorney's office, jail, community corrections, and juvenile. The county government is responsible to everyone in the county for those very important components of public safety. So that's where we are, and that's what we're looking to do. We're still, if people have other ideas in the tax levy of how we can save money to fund public safety or raise money other than the tax levy, tell us, because we need to explore that. We think we have, but you know, everyone has their own ideas. We need to look at those ideas. And so when it comes time to vote, we're not voting whether we're going to do this or a tax levy or something else. We're voting. We need to know as citizens whether we have other options or not before the time comes. Because when the time comes, and we need to know what we're voting for.
Okay, Rob?
Rob Taylor from Bandon. I know you gentlemen are in a pressing situation. I think I spoke about this at least 6 months ago, that we are going to have a conversation. We're going to have conversation about tax increases. And from what I understand, this is like we're going to have a work session or something to start that discussion. Is that what we're? Okay. So one of the things that we have to talk about, because we have to put several issues in with this, is the county's urban renewal agency. You've got an urban renewal agency that is the county's, and the port is going to be looking at that urban renewal agency to inflate the debt. They're already discussing it. They're talking about using that money for different projects. Because they got that port container they want to bring in, which, okay, but that port container is already going to be subsidized heavily by our tax dollars. So that's one thing I think needs to be part of that discussion. You close the roads to the forest lands, which I think was very upsetting to a lot of people. I think that should be part of the discussion, because this is going to affect the outcome of people voting on this. And with going back to the urban renewal thing, I don't know if you knew this, but the city of Coos Bay just gave $138,000 to Restaurant Zero, or is that Restaurant O? I'm not sure. But I'm a private business owner. And for them to give $138,000 that comes out of 6 different taxing districts that I'm just getting ready to pay a bunch of taxes to, because I just got my tax bill. I own a business, I'll be paying on that property. I own a house, I'll be paying on that property. I own a rental, we'll be paying on that property. And I know, John, when you say that we are the second lowest tax county, We are not the second lowest tax county when it comes to overall taxes when you add in all the other county taxing. What is it, 79 taxing districts, I think it is?
Yeah, low.
When I said that, I meant the county.
The county
government
itself.
As an entity, and I made it clear that I wasn't
Right.
talking about everything else.
Right, and you did.
And I can't help, we can't help what
Right.
goes on in Bandon or other communities. We can help what goes on.
I think this board is part of one of the boards that has to give permission for those urban renewal increases, creating the area, or any major changes. And over the years, I've seen you guys give approval to that. I believe that there could be a law passed that states the county has to go to the county can say, we're not going to vote on any of those major changes unless this change has been voted on by the electorate in those districts. I think that can be done. And then before you guys even get it, the citizens will have a say on $138,000 the restaurant owe. That just ticks me off. That just ticks me off, man. I mean, we're struggling to get by, and they're just giving money to a restaurant with guys who have plenty of money. And it's just frustrating. And you know, and I don't want to mention them because I don't really want to blame the businesses or the developers. If I could get that urban renewal money, I'd take it too in a heartbeat, man. It would be well worth it. And I wouldn't have any shame or compunction about taking that money. Because like I said, we pay so much in all of these other taxes. So I'm not blaming the businesses. I'm blaming the politicians of the city of Coos Bay and the city of Bandon. And they're all getting ready to expand those urban renewal debts. And part of it's going to be used for these homeless projects. I'm starting to find out some of this money is going to be used for these homeless projects. And I just think that when we have this discussion, we need to talk about all of those factors. So I hope it's a long work session. Get ready to have a long meeting because I'm going to make sure and try to get as many people here to discuss this because I think the input is important. And to be quite honest with you, John, if I had a solution, I'd give it to you. I don't. I've racked my brain too. If I could get any way of getting out of taxes. I do have one question. You always say we're the second lowest. Who's number one? Curry County. Who's number three? See, if you can keep us below number three and we can still at least retain our number two title, heck, maybe we got a deal there. You know what I mean? You need to find out who number three is and what they're paying.
I'd rather compare. We'll be under the state average.
Well, okay.
By a lot.
We're still under the state average a lot. And I give you that. I mean, we've really had a lot of discussions and private conversations about this, and we've gone over the taxes back and forth, and you're right, we're way under the state average. But I'd still like to retain our number two position. And I know we'll never hit number one, but it's always good to work towards that one. So I
My
just...
goal is going to be, our goal needs to be a good public safety system.
Yeah.
And we're going to be well under the average county rate in the state.
Well, the county taxes did go down. Mm-hmm. I did notice that. And
why?
The pipe, the gas pipe.
That's right.
The pipe to nowhere.
It finally paid off.
And they'll go down again next year because we are paying off. We will be debt free after we make the last payment on the communication system. I can tell you that 10 years ago, our total tax rate, including debt indebtedness, was $1.58. After November, it will be $1.08. That's a 1/3 cut in our own tax rate.
See, and that's an arguing point. If you can get it, not too far past the rate of what we were just paying, at least you can tell people we're really not increasing you. Look, we paid off the pipeline to nowhere. We paid off the communication. That was a tax levy from 5 years ago?
4 years ago.
4 years ago. Great. And Yeah, I know it's gonna be a complicated issue. I just hope that we can talk about the things.
We can talk about anything that we need to talk about to come up with a good.
There will be
Public safety
not just
system.
one, but multiple ones, I assume.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good
Thank
idea.
you, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.
I appreciate it. I know you got a hard job.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Richard Koznitsky from Coos County. And the speaker before me went on in quite a length about stuff that this was not supposed to be the discussion about. The discussion here is about, finding out what we can about a tax levy for public safety. Now, a lot of people up here are saying, put them in jail and all this kind of stuff. That costs money. Where's that money gonna come from? And they complain also, not only about, putting them in jail, but paying taxes. Now, this is the county is a public entity, and to support it, you pay taxes. What I would like to see as part of it is how we get the people that are not property owners to contribute to some of the functioning, of the county government. That's a tricky one. Okay, but we need to have a discussion about this levy, about what it will fund, how much it should be. There are a lot of issues about it. I would be glad to try and be part of the discussion kind of on general principles. But the discussion was supposed to be about that, not about forest lands and a bunch of other stuff that isn't part of what we're talking about.
Okay. Okay, come on up.
While David makes his way up, I'll just comment that that when you're discussing something like a levy, that's speaking to revenue, and the topic of revenue in the county is a very, very broad one. So I do see Rob's range of discussion as valid toward that end. Pardon me, David.
Go ahead.
I'm done.
Okay, well, anyway, thank you. My name is David Jennings from Coquille. To answer Rob's questions, my understanding regarding which county is number 3, my understanding is Josephine County is number 3. Some years ago, when they parked all their patrol cars in the sheriff's office because they didn't have enough money for public safety funding, a woman had her ex-boyfriend break in and rape her. And she had pretty good doors and locks. And she called dispatch, and dispatch said they just had no one at all to send for her. And the dispatcher said, well, you could always ask it to leave. Now, I'd hate to be in that position in this county. In every meeting of the BOC, I think we've had people understandably talk about their concerns about crime and lack of accountability for criminal behavior. Now, I think we need to be realistic here. We can be critical of urban renewal. I'm not a fan of urban renewal. Nobody, I think, likes taxes, but sometimes they're necessary. If we're going to have local control, at some point we need to own up and either pay for public safety if we think that's a priority and something we need as a community, which I think we do, or I think we need to be realistic and just say, well, we'll live with this. We'll live with this kind of criminality, petty crime, not so petty crime that escalates. The county has, as Commissioner Sweet has pointed out, made all sorts of cuts and all sorts of little adjustments where they save money here, get a little bit of money here, and keep things running. But the present reality is we only have 48 jail beds. When I worked for the county years ago, we had over 200, and the average jail population was about 150 a day. That's the kind of bed space we need. We need more patrol deputies. We need more prosecutors in the district attorney's office. Just the other day, I was talking to a private citizen that was disappointed because the DA was taking so much time to file on a criminal mischief crime that had been committed on her property, and that it cost several $1,000s worth of damage and made her extremely threatened personally. And then she became very angry because she found the DA was going to pursue this as a violation rather than as a criminal charge. Now, the reality is the county simply is not doing the job that it should be doing in the area of criminal justice. It could do this job if it had more money. So the reality is, I think unless somebody came up with some solution that I just don't think is out there, I'd certainly welcome it. I don't want to pay more money more than anyone else does. But the reality is at some point you take responsibility for things at the local level, if you believe in local control, and I think practically everyone here or everyone does believe in it, and you take care of business on the local level, even if you think, well, the federal government ought to give us more money, or there ought to be some other way that this funding should occur, you accept the reality. You either do what you feel needs to be done, or just say, well, I don't think it's worth it to pay for that. I'm willing to live with more crime and more disorder. So certainly there should be a lot of discussion, but in the end, I think you're gonna find you either pay for a better criminal justice system, or you accept the consequences, which is more crime, more disorder, and it's not gonna get better, it's just gonna get worse. Now, maybe at some point you'll finally accept that you need to pay for it, but the sooner you face that reality, I think the sooner you can do something that needs to be done. So I certainly encourage the county to look at this. I hope you do put a levy on the ballot, and hopefully even the people that have doubts or don't like paying taxes will in the end accept the fact that if they don't like crime, then they need to pay a little bit more to control it. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Anybody else?
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, Matt?
Matt Wilbanks, Coos Bay, morning commissioners. I find myself strangely in agreement with David, which doesn't usually happen. So we might not be in agreement on the means, but what has just come to mind to me, and I've been thinking about this for a while, is Josephine County keeps coming into my mind as an example. Their sheriff's department is a special taxing district. And I think that's something that absolutely needs to happen around here. Having the sheriff in the general fund is crazy to me. It needs to be earmarked funds. Law enforcement is the most important function of the county in my mind. Law enforcement and probably roads, okay? I have said before that I cannot support the levy because I feel the county has been not trustworthy in the spending of their funds prior to this. I just don't trust government, taxed enough already. What I could support is moving the sheriff's department to a special taxing district at whatever rate that taxing district needs to be set up for to get the extra jail breads and however many extra deputies you guys decide. I trust you on that. My problem here is not, you have to pay more to get more. That's just the way it is. Stuff costs, I get that, okay? But the structure has to be proper. Josephine County, not that they don't have problems, but they don't have the crime problems that we do, and they have a higher population. They have 185 beds open in their jail. Their average home tax rate, ours is $1,300 something per year per house. Theirs is $1,227. It's crazy to me that they have 4 times as many beds available. Their sheriff department is in a special taxing district. They also have a home rule charter, which I think is very important. But one thing at a time. I would support moving it into a special taxing district at the rate we need rather than a levy.
Mm-hmm. Vanessa?
Vanessa Rains, Myrtle Point. The one thing, as a landowner and a lot of rentals, is that the state has capped us on what we can raise our rent. And so the population that actually owns is going down in value. There's a lot more rentals. And knowing your population of how many people are owned versus the rent is, I think, is pretty big. And I don't know how we can pass that through to the renters also if we can't go up in increasing on rents. Mortgages have gone up. So there's a whole bunch of different things to think about, but there's a lot of people here that rent. And I've prided myself on fixing up derelict homes and making sure they've never been used before and get them to the point where it can be housing. So, so those are some of the things that I think that not everyone's, if you can't pass it on because your hands are capped, you got to look at that also.
Yes, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you. Motion,
I have a motion in a second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
3-0, request approval of proclamations 1 and 2 opposing foam windshore offshore wind project. And we've had numerous meetings about this, but last week, Thursday, I learned that some things. One from a gentleman talking about Doppler radar. Apparently, the windmills interfere with the Doppler radar, and at night, the ships can't see each other. Imagine that when you're coming into port. The Coast Guard is totally hampered. Search and rescue. People in trouble out in the ocean. Can't see at all. Airplanes, same way. When you're low flying coming in for a landing, you can't spot that plane because it looks just like it's obliterated on the screen. Looks like a massive storm, apparently. So I added that to Proclamation 1. And the other thing I learned at that meeting was that BOM doesn't care whether you can fish or not, whether you're going to pay a feed-in tariff when something goes wrong and all the ratepayers get to make the investors whole. All that kind of stuff. They don't care. That goes in the other file. So what I did is separated 1, which is what is pertinent to their area to be leased, which I can read. I won't read the second one because I've done it before. But the first one is that electromagnetic radiation disrupts the migrating whales, salmon, etc. out there. And I want to know what studies they've done and what they've done to actions they've taken to protect that. NOAA, their chief of protected species, already sent a letter to BOM expressing concerns about the turbine action on plankton and krill. I didn't know krill and plankton were synonymous. There are plankton and then there are krill, but krill are called plankton, which means no food. So the blue whales, who are protected species, the northern right whale, which is extremely protected species, what are they going to eat when they go out there? So what have they taken to mitigate those? Any studies? Any action taken? No. Short-tailed albatross, same thing. What studies and what actions has BOM taken to mitigate those losses? Now, I did listen to, and I've said this before, I did listen to a seminar BOM conducted about a year and a half ago. And with the Audubon Society, a person from Portland. And they asked that person, what are they going to, how can the short-tailed albatross be mitigated? And it was, I have it recorded at home. The answer was, well, the companies, the wind companies, can just grow more birds. Well, if that's true, why can't the timber companies grow more merlets and spotted owls? But they don't see it that way, because this is a, quote, green project, which isn't green at all, because it costs more in petrochemicals to make these things than they get out of it. So anyway, that's the first one. And then the second one we've gone through multiple times about, if you're new to this, the feed-in tariff. It's already been enacted in Rhode Island and Virginia on those legislatures. Been talked about twice in our Oregon legislature. Feed-in tariff is, if something goes wrong with the project, we the ratepayers have to make the investors whole by increasing our rates. If you don't know that. They also expect us to pay for all of the onshore upgrades. Imagine that. As well as really harming the fishing community, all kinds of stuff out there. None of this is good. They're going to generate maybe 1 gigabyte, maybe 1.5 gigabytes of power.
Gigawatt.
Gigawatts, yeah, gigawatts. California uses 500,000 gigawatts a year. Huh? Why are they even doing this? They're just not even gonna make a drop in the bucket. Other than federal government subsidies for these wind people. That's what it's all about. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a project without the federal government subsidies, in my opinion.
Our grandchildren's money.
Yep. So anyway,
Ready for a motion, Mr.
yes,
Chair?
I am.
I move to approve proclamations number 1 and number 2 opposing the Bone Coos Bay offshore wind project.
Second.
Okay. Discussion with the board. Discussion with the audience. Rob Taylor first.
Don't you have to make?
Come on up. Announce for the tape. They don't know who you are out there in the audience talking.
Don't you have to make two?
Rob Taylor, Bandit.
Rob Taylor, Bandit. So don't you have to make two votes on this, one for one and one for two? This, you can make a vote for two resolutions at the same time?
I would think so.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we have to get it submitted by the 31st.
And the lawyer guy says, good on this, you're good on this, this is okay? I'm for it, I just want to make sure we're.
Yeah, it's a Robert's Rules of Order type of question.
I call that Rob's rules.
It probably would be more accurate to separate the.
Okay, we can do both. Okay.
Just asking, I want to be sure.
Okay, so hang on a second there, kiddo.
I'd like to amend my motion to approve proclamation number 1 opposing the Bone Coos Bay offshore wind project.
Okay.
And I would also like to make a motion. Do we need to vote on that?
One at a time.
Yeah. Okay.
According to Robert's rules.
Oh, yeah.
Alright.
So, okay.
Okay, so yes, we are on proclamation 1 at the moment.
Thank you.
Okay, come on up. Well, we're gonna hear about it first.
Public comment first.
Richard, because that's he again from Coos County. While I generally agree with the proclamation, Boone doesn't really care what the reasons are, they just want a yes or no. But in the future, gentlemen, if you were gonna make a resolution or a proclamation that you're saying comes from the Coos County government, you need to get input other than just the three of you and other than just people that support your, position. So if you want to make another proclamation or resolution, I suggest you get residents to have input in what's said and how it's said.
We did that.
That's why we had a work session, Richard.
Well, I understand that, but that was because of the delay of the deadline. They pushed it back. Otherwise, I don't remember hearing anything about a discussion of what was going to be said. And that's, okay, just in the future, get other input.
This board has had, in our previous board meetings, multiple discussions about this wind project. Many discussions right here in the board meeting.
And public input is represented in the contents here.
Okay, but that was this one particular issue. There are other issues that will arise, and I still think you guys need to get input from us.
Yeah, we did.
It's on us, dude.
Yeah.
I would have to agree with Richard. I'm going to vote for this. I'll tell you that. We talked about it now, but technically, one of these two resolutions has not had. The public has not had an opportunity to review one of these two resolutions.
Actually, it has, because I separated the one from 2 weeks ago and last Thursday into two.
Gentlemen, you're not hearing what I am saying. This is one particular issue. In the future, I am sure there will be other issues that come up. And when you gentlemen decide to make a proclamation or a resolution about these other issues, that you get input from us, not just on the wind the wind thing, which I agree with you guys on.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
understand.
Okay.
Thank you, Richard.
Diane, Rich?
Diane Rich, North Bend. Well, you know, in defense of the county commissioners, Bowen came out with their meetings and gave us 10 days notice. 10 days. The meetings were held on the 24th, 25th, and 26th in 3 different cities in ineffective locations. There wasn't enough room in there for people to breathe, and the fire marshal should have been involved.
Yep.
I am proud of you as a board to put this forward. You're doing a great job. And you know, in the world, we'd like to have more time sometimes, but I think they gave us a lot of time. They made it absolutely possible for anyone who wanted to give any comment to do so. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Diane.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, in that case, we will vote on proclamation 1. All in favor?
Aye. I'd like to move, Mr. Chair, to approve proclamation number 2, opposing the Bowen Coos Bay offshore wind project, which proclamation has already been read.
Second. It's been read all over the place.
Yes.
It's a portion of what we've read several times. Comments?
I think all the comments have been made.
Comments from the audience? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great.
Very good.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Alrighty, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And going to late agenda items, request approval Salvation Army funding request. Megan, is she here? Who's presenting? Oh. Come on up, come on up. All we have is our finance director was presenting.
Morning, Major.
Very good.
How's everybody today?
Great.
Thank you for inviting me, letting me participate in the meeting and presenting this morning with you. Major Aaron is representing as well.
Morning, Major.
First, I'd like to start off with a little brevity. I'm often confused in the airport, especially with being an airline pilot. So I just want everyone in the room to know I'm with the Salvation Army. If you ever see this uniform in the airport or any other place, please stop them and ask them where the bathroom is, because it's really fun to share a little bit about the Salvation Army. That it opens a lot of doors for me. Just wanted to share that with everybody. Moving right along, the Salvation Army, my wife and I, we come as a team. We were appointed here in February of 2023. We came from Spokane, and we were both heavily engaged in the homeless housing and workforce development issues there. They're significant. They made national news. We get the privilege now of applying our skill sets, our blessings, we call them, with this community as well. When we arrived, we quickly surmised, through the help of many people, our staff, many people in this room, a lot of friends, concerned citizens, about housing and homelessness here. So we went to work straight away, putting together a plan. We have 5 acres. We're located on Flanagan in Coos Bay. If you don't know where that's at, think Newmark, 7-Eleven. Just follow that street to the end there, and there we are. We have 5 acres there. We are proposing to put on 1.5 acres. We want to put a micro housing project. I will start off. Take this next page. Introducing the Salvation Army Hope Village at the Bay, the Housing Readiness Micro Community Initiative is built around the SEED philosophy. This acronym encapsulates our commitment to augmenting our guests' strengths, empowerment, education, and dreams. Our program offers a sanctuary with safe emergency housing and supportive services, grounded in client-centered trauma-informed practices. I'll bounce down. We propose establishing an 8-unit microcommunity under the Hope Village at the base seed program. This community will cater to families, including tribal members, veterans, seniors, couples, and singles. Take off the word couples and singles. We're going to primarily focus with families. And I've been to several of these presentations, and I've shared with many in the community here some of they've asked their questions, and I've shared with many of them the Salvation Army's position. I'm going to bounce down now. Towards the end of that paragraph there, it says this: the Salvation Army has successfully implemented this methodology in various cities, grappling with homelessness such as Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Seattle, Spokane, Portland. Central to our approach is the prevention of re-traumatization, often linked to social services and criminal justice processes. But I will add to that. We have great success in translating people who are whatever spectrum in the homeless continuum into housing, back up to C. Strengths, empowerment, education, and dreams. It's our hope. And many of the people we work with, including Major Aaron and myself, have received services from Salvation Army. Ours came through services in 1990. We both saw an opportunity in our lives to make change in the world, so we enlisted full on. So our opportunity here in Coos Bay is to help people understand where they're at, what they would like to do with their lives. Do they see themselves progressing into fulfilling their dreams, succeeding, self-sufficiency? That's the Salvation Army's intent in this program. That would be our goals as we endeavor to pursue this together. Know that. I hope the community hears that. That's our heart's desire. And I can share that coming from Spokane, we opened a housing micro community there. It was more like a shelter, and it was 60 beds. And in the course of 1 year, we housed 30 people. Amazing. From 60 beds, we housed 30 of those people permanently in housing. We gave them the supports they needed. We did it through, and this is another component. I go into the depth in this in the actual proposal. I probably won't touch on it in this one, but our case management services are focused on helping people understand what their potential is, what their dreams are, and helping them achieve those things. I met a person who shared here earlier. She offered me her business card, and that was our first meeting. She does notary public. It's a critical piece in helping people get their documents ready for housing. And there's so many other people that have come alongside us in this. We'll see it, but there are approximately 60 organizations that are going to partner with us in order to help people succeed. We're going to try our best to utilize every taxpayer dollar that's sent our way to help a person. And I can't share with you exactly a number at this point, but I certainly will if we were to review this at a later date, how that taxpayer dollar translated into help. I'm willing to explore all that. I want people to know that we're being as transparent as we can be, and that we're invested. The Salvation Army is invested in unhoused people in this community. Statement of need is the next. Okay. The strategic plan formulated by the Coos County Coordinated Office of Homelessness underscores a pressing concern: the urgent need for additional beds across the housing spectrum, encompassing emergency shelters, transitional housing, and permanent supportive housing. We would fit in the latter. In response, Salvation Army is poised to inaugurate an 8-unit tiny home transitional facility on our campus at Flanagan. Again, I highlighted in my presentation, the Army has significant experience in this. My wife and I both come with over a decade and a half of experience in working with the unhoused. The Salvation Army sent us here because they're investing. Because of our experience levels, they could have sent us to larger cities. They're investing in the people here in south coast of Oregon. And we're coming with the open minds and open hearts ready to assist. Let me press on. Services proposed. In collaboration with Coquille Indian Housing Authority, we aim to launch an 8-unit transitional housing facility. That may change depending on how things go this morning, but we are still going to partner with Coquille Indian Housing Authority. The strategy is what I want you to focus on though next. Innovative outreach, inter-organization and external training, comprehensive partnerships, meticulous case management. Circle that word if you've got one. One requirement for our program participants is a commitment to sobriety during program-related activities. I will add that I'm a certified alcohol and drug counselor for the state of Oregon, state of California, state of Nevada. I'm also a human services board certified practitioner. I have a background in social work. My bent is isn't necessarily seeing people for as long as possible. My bent, and this is where people work with me in my life, is to help me recognize quickly where I am, what my potential is, and how I can get going. That's where my training rests. My drug and alcohol training is in line with, just don't drink. That's kind of where I'm at with drug and alcohol. Now, that shared, I am willing to work with a person. It's been asked of me, what about a person who's still exhibiting criminal behavior? I'm willing to work with a person, but I'm not willing to work beyond the scope of the law. I'm not going to enable them or house them or hide them. I'm willing to work with a person. Now, let's say, for example, something happens to one of our guests. I would say that we would do everything we can to make sure that person stays housed, including finding resources that will help them escape that problem. I would like to move to the next one. These are this is what they're going to look like. They're 10 by 40, 400 square feet. They have a bathroom, a kitchenette. Thank you, perfect. This is the plot of land. This is where they'll be located on the backside of our property there. Down on the bottom is what is an example, quickly hand-drawn. Apologize for that, but that's quickly hand-drawn what we propose each house will have. Moving along. I only did one. One of our goals, offer transitional housing for families confronting homelessness. We will do this from a perspective that we will take you in for 6 months, and depending on how you're doing with the program, you could stay there up to 2 years. It's been highlighted that there's some real challenges in this community with housing people. There's lack of affordable housing. There's just so many things that are coming against folks moving from transition. So we're willing to work with them for up to 2 years. And if we run into 2 years and a person's still experiencing a challenge, I will share with you that we're even interested in helping beyond that. So these are just numbers that we would like to stick to, but we would know that our desire is to help people move as quickly as possible. We're willing to even go the extra mile if we need to. Office hours, we'll be working with people 8 to 4, 7 days a week. Intake eligibility, a person has to be 18 years old with a family to come to our program. We'll accept referrals and walk-ins, and the person has to be capable of activities of daily living. First 120 days, there will be weekly case management and orientation, weekly housing navigation, weekly employment navigation, weekly skills enhancement. If this needs to be, I put as needed because it might take a little longer than that. We're willing to keep going. So I put that on there just so everyone understands that we're committed to this. Our collaborations list. This is all the people we're partnering with to bring the services in mental health, in substance use disorder, in financial literacy, in health and wellness. Everybody listed up there as a participant in legal issues, etc. The next one's a timeline. This was completed prior to, this was when we were talking with only Coquille Indian Housing Authority, but this may still be the timeline. So we will complete approvals. This is 2024 approvals process. Next would be begin construction in March, completed by June. In September, we would be delivering standardized results. Next page is the budget. Tentative costs, what we kind of project them to be, except for like excavation and construction of units. Those are from bids, so I've already got those. Staffing costs down at the bottom, it says 360, and I've kind of focused on that number because I can't find a way around it per se. The opportunity here is that these were going to be encumbered if we went through CIHA. They were going to be encumbered for 10 years, and that would require OHCS to own those units for 10 years, and we'd be required to operate them for 10 years. My leadership in Portland was very concerned about that. That's a $3.5 on this number, sorry, $3.5 million commitment over the course of 10 years, and they weren't necessarily willing to explore that. By working with Coos County, the Homeless Coalition, we can, and the commissioners, we can circumvent that encumbrance, that 10-year encumbrance. This was in reference to what I just mentioned, and that will wrap up my presentation.
Okay, Mark.
I move we approve Salvation Army funding request of $480,000 for the construction of 8 tiny homes and their property and part of their managed village in response to the coordinated homeless response under House Bill 4123 by Coos County, Coos Bay, and North.
Any second?
Second.
Okay, there's discussion.
I'd like to ask Nicole, who is the chair of the Homeless Leadership Council, what do we call that? I want to forget all his name, to talk about this a little bit. I think you can tell how this got to us here and why it's here.
So, hi, Nicole, President, City of Coos Bay. City Manager, I'm one of the appointed individuals from Coos Bay, each of the 3 entities appointed to. You guys know the storyline, but maybe folks in the audience doesn't know it. We are an advisory board that's kind of implementing the House Bill 4123 elements for the coordinated homeless response for this larger Coos County area. We were awarded $1 million over a 2-year period to do several things. One of it was standing up an office to coordinate services within our community that's really helping to identify where we maybe have some overlaps and also some gaps in service. The goal in all of this is to get people off the streets and back into contributing members of our communities. I think over the last couple of weeks, we've had some meetings. Major Kaufman has been to our advisory board and presented, I guess I should step back a little bit. So our advisory board was the 6th. We came to a smaller group of executive committee. We meet weekly. That kind of helps move ideas and thought process along a little bit so that we can then very organized, like present that to the whole body of 6. So David was kind enough to do 2 presentations, one to our executive committee and then to follow up with the full advisory board, which was, I believe, last week. And it was their recommendation that this proposal come to the full county as the fiscal agents for the House Bill 4123. Our participation in this makes this process, I won't say easier, it's obviously a long haul to stand up a program like this and make it worthy of meeting the needs of the community. But what it does, Major already shared, that it removes that 10-year touch from Oregon Housing and Community Services. So the units can be managed and maintained here locally. We kind of have some control then on how that works. That also alleviates some concerns that the Salvation Army at a higher level has about their level of participation in this. And I think from what the Major shared so far, this team is who we need working in this arena, especially when we're touching families. So I don't know, am I missing something?
Other than the process, I think that the steps that we went through on the advisory committee, they heard the presentation first from the Salvation Army, gave their blessing, and then the next step. We're kind of covering new territory here, so we thought the next step, because the county is the, what's the phrase?
Fiscal agent.
The fiscal agent for this program would be to come to the county for their blessing on this investment that we're so fortunate to have.
So I'm a bit confused.
Yes.
You said there was a grant of $1 million something?
Yes, so.
Is that the same one Andrew's talking about, the $1.9 million?
No, so the original House Bill 4123 was established by the previous governor. And there are 8 pilots across the state that were established as part of that legislation. And there was grant funds actually over 2 years, $500 or $500,000 each year for that coordinated homeless response system in our community. So that's a different set of funding. The county is the fiscal agent of those dollars. So far, nobody's the fiscal agent of the second amount because it's not been released.
Oh.
So you only have House Bill 4123 in your responsibility.
1.9.
The 1.9 is still sitting at the state. We are still awaiting them their approval.
Well, wait a minute, which one's Andrew operating on?
He's operating under House Bill 4123, as that's the only thing that currently exists.
The $1 million, okay.
Yes.
But this project is under the other one.
No.
It's under the $1 million.
Yes.
Okay.
Which
and
we
this
are.
480,000 requests is coming from that one.
Yes.
All right, there's too many grants out there that might feed your brain.
I guess right now we're just working with the money we actually have in hand, not the money that's potentially been promised.
Oh, promised.
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen lots of promises.
Agreed.
Never mind.
That's why we're talking only about the money that's at hand.
Okay. So, I guess before we get into big discussion, we need a motion, or we did that already. didn't we? Okay, so I lost track of listening to all this stuff. I have a couple of questions. Now, in my old assessor days, I'm thinking back, have you checked with the Oregon Department of Revenue Property Tax Division to see whether this will be taxed or not under property tax? There has been discussions of other housing units of different kinds in the county. Some have been made exempt by Department of Revenue Property Tax Division and the Director, and some have not. So that's something to find out when you're going to pay property tax on this.
That's a fair question.
Now, another question I've got is, the third question I got, is the project for housing based on the total need of that family group like you were talking about? Or is there preference given to different groups?
There's, yes.
Yes and yes?
To answer the first part of your question, yes, this will help meet the need highlighted by the Coos County Office of Coordinated Homeless Services in the strategic plan.
So you'll go through this list of applicants and try and figure out which ones have the greatest need?
There was a need for creating 8 family units to address homelessness, particularly homelessness. That's part one. Part two of your question, I'm sorry, I'm sidetracked for a minute.
Groups. Are there different groups that have different
preferences? We're going to work, the initial funding is coming through Coquel Indian Housing Authority. They and us, we agreed, since they're mandated that it was coming for tribal use, we were going to set aside 25% of these units for tribal families. We have discussed this with them several times. We said we would even keep them, unoccupied. They said, don't do that. Please know that we see that you're trying to work with us, but it would be tribal members from Coquel, then it was other tribes, and then it was going to be,
the general public. Huh.
But again,
mine was going to the greatest need.
Again, if we go this direction, we don't necessarily have to follow that restriction. Yeah, that
The
direction.
25-75?
Right, correct. Because
Don't
there's other
necessarily. What does that mean?
I'm sorry.
You said don't necessarily have to follow that.
We don't have to follow that.
Oh, don't have to. Okay. Because I've heard necessarily, which is the legal part of it.
The challenge under Coquel Indian Housing Authority is that they were receiving state funds to address homelessness, and we were part of the way they wrote their grant was
okay. Because I was reading your presentation and I saw the 25% thing, and I'm going, well, wait a minute. I know Coquel has their own tribal housing. Why would they need this part too?
They and I can't speak for them. I can only speak to the conversations I've had with their executive director. They could not fulfill the grant. They'd applied for it and they couldn't fulfill it on their own land. So they were kind enough to start reaching out to the community. When I arrived in February, this offer had already been offered to many people, many agencies in the South Coast area, and we were the one that kind of stepped forward quickest.
Okay. It clears it up a bit. Because I was thinking, well, at 25%, that isn't, maybe eliminates some people with the greatest need over others.
And what we've done in
that was bothering me.
Right, in other housing units, we've done kind of a coordinated entry. There's different assessments that families can take that would show greatest need. It's like the HMIS that's used in different cities. Coordinated entry systems that show the highest need.
And I would venture that while we're holding 25% aside, many of the people we're talking about will fit the same. They would across the board fit the same criteria, even though they may be a tribal family. That they would still be the same criteria used for everyone.
Yeah, I had some concept that the Coquel tribal organization, nation, would, with their resources, be helping all of their members. And maybe that's not true.
No, I can't speak for them, but I can share the conversations I've had. This would have augmented the services they're providing. This was a way that they could do it. And I don't know all the particulars behind their situation, but I know they applied for this. And then rather than send the money back to the state, they offered it up to the community to utilize. And I don't know how they arrived at that decision. I'm not privy to all that.
All right. Questions, Rob?
Just that if you proceed with the fiscal involvement of the Coquel tribe and allot 25% of the housing for tribal members, does that denote any controls of the project outside of your purview? In other words, do they get 25% input on that, or any other percentage of input on the day-to-day management operation or other significant decisions regarding the project?
No. And the way this was worded, it was more of a preference than a contractual agreement. It was more of a, we would appreciate if you could do this.
Okay, so it's not in the paperwork. It's not in the paperwork.
It's not in the paperwork, and they even shared that they would rather not have a place left open if someone else needed it. They just want to make sure that we are serving everyone that is open.
Sure.
Seems what I'm getting is more of a matter of the grant restrictions rather than the actual housing.
Right. Yes, sir. I believe it's between them and Oregon Housing Community Services versus us.
Because I was scratching my head when I read this the other day. I'm going, how does that work? Man? That was bothering me. John, anything?
No, sir.
Okay, open the audience. Vanessa. And I thought this was gonna be a short meeting.
I'm sorry, you've
We're
opened a
going
can of
almost
worms
noon
here.
now here.
My name's Danessa Rains. I'm from Myrtle Point. I've actually built a couple tiny homes myself, probably at least 3, and with incinerator toilets, and I've helped a lot of people that were homeless. So the question I have is, we could hardly read the numbers up there, but we didn't get to see, we saw a diagram, like a floor plan, but what do these look like? Because we were told there were pallet houses, is that correct? So is this like a summit, like a shed, a prefab shed that's on skids that could be moved?
I think Bay Point down in Charleston, there's this hotel thing. I apologize, I'm not real familiar with what they do. I just drove down there and looked at them. I stole their pictures and their model. Basically, one of those Bay Point units that they've got is it's a 10 by 40. I was looking at container homes. To have them prefab and built was $100,000 each. So to build these, the contractor assured me we could build them for 60, and he'd try to keep it under that. But it's basically a container unit. And down at Bay Point, they've got some on the back part of the property if you were to drive down there.
I have been able to buy 10 by 28s that have been repoed. They were sheds. I turn around and insulate them with rigid foam with the I think it's R16. And with the sheetrock and the cabinets and the labor and the flooring, I mean, I could do it for 35. And I just bought a trailer at Porter's for $52,000. That was a 28 top of the line with a solar panels and on demand hot water heater. You know, this seems a little excessive. That's what I'm saying. And when you're saying this 5 acres, is this on tribal land?
No.
This is, it's owned by, okay. And with that $48,000 money that you're looking for from the money that came from the state for homelessness, how much is the tribe contributing? Is it equal to 25%?
Initially, they were giving 100% of the 480.
Okay.
But now, if we're going to go a different route through this, they're contributing basically on the numbers. They're going to give us money for upgrading our kitchen so that we can provide meals, and for a laundry room, because we currently don't have that on our facility. And then they were also providing operating funds for a year, which is $350,000.
Well, have you looked at something similar to, say, there's a travel trailer park that's out here that's got a centralized shower, laundry facility. You cook in your own facility, in your own home.
We explored that. We were looking at, there's several factors, but one of the main ones we looked at was dignity. We don't necessarily want someone getting up in the middle of the night walking to a communal bathroom. We were trying to make sure that we could dignify the person by putting a bathroom in there and connecting it to sewage and having water and power. So they're basically their own unit. And then not on this bid, but also that's going around it.
It was very hard to see that the dollar amounts for the staffing and stuff too. So
that's $350,000. 175 is staff, 50,000 for food annually. These are annual costs. It would be 3 people. It would be 2 case managers. They're working with people 7 days a week, and then facilities maintenance person that's part-time, because we expect that we're doing families that some stuffies will probably be flushed and we'll have to go and get them. So we're expecting maintenance costs as well.
okay, I'm just saying, okay, I just couldn't see it. And also on top of that, my tiny houses have incinerator toilets. So they are in the units themselves with their own little shower too. But I'm just saying it looks excessive. The staffing itself, I mean, typically should be 50,000 a staff. How many people are you looking to staff total for 8 people? For 8 people, how many you can?
It's 8 families, so it's more like 40 people. But it's 2 case managers 7 days a week, because we're not gonna do 5 days a week. We're doing intensive case management, because we're gonna transition folks from where they're at, where they need to be. We're gonna work with them by partnering with agencies on mental illness. I pulled up the numbers real fast. People were talking about it here. 38% homeless folks are addicted to alcohol. 26% are addicted to drugs. Just those two stats alone. And then mental illness added in is another 60%. We're gonna challenge people as well as support them, compassionately support them to work through those issues. So it requires intensive case management.
So how do you know that that's the mix that you're gonna give, that these are homeless people with drug addictions?
We don't, we're expecting. So if we
So
don't,
what are you gonna do with those people that you have on staff that's supposed to be there for that? It seems like a lot of idle time.
If we don't need them, and this will be billed for services. If we don't need them, we'll certainly not utilize them.
Okay, thank you.
What do you think? Anybody else? Yes, Emily.
While Sarah comes up, Charlotte comes up, I'll mention that the Salvation Army has among the highest efficiency ratings of any charity ministry that I know of. I believe it's running around 97%. And that's amazing. So fiscal management is not among the problems that Salvation Army typically would have.
I would agree.
Sorry, Charlotte.
Hi, everyone. I'm Charlotte Carter. I live in Bandon. First, just want to say thank you so much for this presentation and all the work that you put into this. It sounds like a really amazing project that can really benefit a lot of families. I know that there are a lot of families that are experiencing homelessness and struggle to find housing, and so I think this could be really great for the community. I'm also having a hard time understanding the money. And I'm curious about, so there's the grant funds that are going to go into these startup costs in like the first year of operating. And I saw it was $350,000 is the ongoing operating costs. So how is that long-term funding going to be sourced?
That's a great question. That's the one my leadership in Portland is very concerned about. I can share with you that over the course of, since I presented this last Wednesday, I have been in several meetings with several community partners. We've discussed several options. For instance, case management. I was in a meeting yesterday where an existing agency is willing to take on case management. Take that to the budget, we can take $75,000 of a person that's case managing out of our operating costs. It's theirs, and wherever they're getting their funding from, they will put that cost under that. That's a wonderful resource. We haven't even explored that much here, and that's a way we can solve many of these operating costs. But there are some hard ones too. For instance, food and maintenance and things like that I have to keep in play, and that will be from our donors and agencies around.
Grant writing.
Yeah, the other part of this commitment was that there would be a grant writer assigned by the Coordinating Office of Homelessness that would assist us in finding those funds. Sorry, I talk a lot. I'm a pastor too.
No, I appreciate it, and I think it's a great investment. I think that I'm curious to see how the long-term sustainability will work out. I do believe that there are a lot of organizations that would be happy to contribute funds. Grant-funded projects are challenging because it's piecemeal, and we really want to have long-term sustainability of a new project like this. And just one other comment is, when you're serving families with young children, it's going to be really important to have public spaces available, whether it's a place to walk the dog or let the children play. And just, I hope that that's also in consideration as we're designing the project.
If I could just share, the Salvation Army has a brand new gym on our property. We also have an after-school program with 80 children. So we have a couple large spaces as well. We want to bring in the life skills, the parenting classes, working with the local agencies. And I did want to answer some of the budget questions. We had anticipating going large and serving 24 families. We were asked to scale back to just 8 units. So the budget is a little high, and we are all in favor of looking at different bids that can get us cheaper housing. And then as far as staffing goes, If we have a $25 an hour case manager, that's $50,000 a year. And then we have a benefit package and everything else, so that adds up to about $75,000 a year for each staff case manager. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, no, thank you.
So it's sort of like, no analogy here, no comparison, but our jail is 24/7. There has to be people there. And this sounds like the same way. You're gonna have 24/7 staffing.
Yeah, availability
Yeah.
for sure.
On different shifts, correct. And then we're working on having the security do checks every hour.
Okay. Anybody else? Rob Taylor. Oh. Let this lady come first, Rob, and then
I'll get closer.
there you go.
My name's Dorothy Ott. I'm a little confused by your plan. Like it sounds like you're mixing people who are drug addicts and single males along with families. And what is a house? What is your, and when I looked at your floor plan, I'm trying to figure out how you put a single parent with all her kids in it and one little section with, because they're so tiny. I mean, one half of that's 5 feet. You're putting all these, I mean, what if she has like 3 or 4 kids, you know, and then you're mixing you have all these counselors and stuff. Wouldn't it be better to set it up for one set of population so that all of those facilities that you want, all those employees that you want to hire are busy all the time and working with them? That's all I have to say, really.
So
Thank you. This is, we were personally wanting to work with mixed populations. We wanted to work with single adults, couples, and families. Salvation Army leadership had a different idea, and they said, bring it down to 8 families. So we're only working with families.
Okay.
And there's still, the things that I referenced, there's still some of those challenges. I'm speaking globally in regard to homelessness. There's still those challenges that exist in families. There's still alcohol, and drug addiction, and mental illness. So that's what I was referencing. If you have confusion, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so these are basically professionals.
Yes.
Right. And the goal is, just for clarification for staffing, the goal is to have a daytime case manager and then a swing shift case manager, so that we have someone there at night and at day in case they're working swing or off. So that's 2 case manager positions, just to be there for that. Okay.
Okay, Rob.
Hello, folks. Rob Taylor from Bandon. This was kind of sprung on us rather quickly. I haven't even seen it. I haven't even seen the plan. I would like to have a little more time to look it over to say yay or nay. But, you know, at first, when I heard about it, because like I said, it was kind of sprung on us, I was opposed to it. After listening to you, I'm not so much opposed to it. In fact, I think it might be a really good idea. This might be something I think the community, the people and citizens could support. And like I was talking about earlier, you know, the government creates the problem, they control the reaction to get the solution that they desire. And one question, I guess, would be to your commissioners. Is this something, let's say a private person wanted to do something like this with the housing, just the housing, not having mental health there, but say they wanted to do this with a cafeteria and do it on their own. Would that be even possible for a private person to do that? And if not, why are they able to do it?
I don't know why that wouldn't be possible for a private entity to do it. However, when you're looking at appropriating government funds of any type toward it, that's typically going to be allocated to an organized structure of some kind, like the Salvation Army.
You pay, you say.
I'm sorry, what?
You get to decide the structure because it's not a private person doing it. It's a government entity which takes many different people, which you're saying, right?
Well, no, that wasn't exactly what I was saying. I was just saying that I was referring to more of a reliable structural apparatus that's in place. You know, the Salvation Army has a long track record, history, all of that. But anyway, I think I'm probably a little off my patch there. I don't really know, but it seems to me that anybody should be able to do a project like that.
So,
well, aren't there individuals that will take in a needy person with health problems?
well, yeah, but if more people were allowed to get by the regulations and create facilities like this,
Getting by.
well, that was going to be my next questions. Are you getting any special privileges? Because this is going to be in Coos Bay, right? So are you going to be able to get by some of the planning regulations that they're doing? Is this all by the same thing everyone else would be able to live by?
Yes, I'm following the same laws, zoning laws. I'm a 501c3. That goes to part of the answer there.
Okay.
Yeah, a person certainly could apply to be a 501c3, but then they'd still have to follow the same zoning laws if they're putting it on like private residence or whatever.
Yeah, and that would be the important part to me, is knowing that you're going through the same steps that any private individual would have to go through. Yeah, like I said, there was a lot of, because you're talking about the pricing, we're back there with our calculators trying to figure out per person, 8 people. And you were talking about this is now designated for families, correct? To me, that's the most important part. The problem, you talk about drug addiction, you talk about mental illness. A good problem that we're having in our country right now is fatherlessness. And you can blame on both sides. Men and women both are at fault for this. Maybe it's the laws that allows divorce to be too easy. I don't know, but fatherlessness is a cause for a lot of mental illness for young people, the next generation who are growing up lost. You've got fatherlessness who aren't there to discipline the children because they're on video games, they're drunk, they're not participating anymore. And as a coach, as someone I think I was the only father who volunteered for my son's class. And it was almost always women who were volunteering for this. I was the only one, and it was frustrating to me. So to see that you're having this done for families makes this a lot more valuable to me as a taxpayer, because if you're talking about having this as something for, like I said, enabling more people, and you're going to have strict rules, you're going to have people comply to this. Yeah, I'm not so opposed to this. I think this could be a really good idea, and I like this a lot better, and especially with the counseling on board. I wish I would have had more time to go over the figures, but like you said, I think with what you're applying for, and it comes out to what it comes out to, but long-term funding, and this is what worries me, is a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, they're back here saying, we don't have the money. Can the county give us 300 for the personnel? It's 480 right now for the building. And then for the personnel, it was 300 and some odd. Yeah, I mean, that could be something, with a county with already having money problems, you have to be able to guarantee those sources. And if you had that many people, that many organizations, the tribe pulls in a huge amount of money. And so at first, when I heard 25% of the house was dedicated to that, it bothered me until I found out they're putting in, it looks like more than 25% of the share, right? Yeah, that ain't a problem. And I think that's a good idea, because you're going to need that money source. And if they're part of this, then they're tied to maintaining it. That's my comments.
Okay.
Thanks, Rob.
Nobody else
Nicole,
is coming up tonight. Okay.
Dino wants to say something. Anybody else besides Dino? Okay. Then Nicole here after Dino.
Dino Bandon. One of the things that stuck in my mind, you're going to put people up a house for up to 2 years or more. What I want to know is, what incentives do these people have that are gonna be occupying this? Granted, I like giving hands up. I don't want to hand out for 2 years. And I got a feeling, everybody's paying for that. What incentive? Is there something like, hey, maybe you're gonna start paying for a part of this?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so that's,
And that is the goal. Everyone will be there on a month-to-month basis. They need to be moving from point A to point B during those times. Some folks may have evictions on that they need to take care of, financial issues. They may have some polytrauma that they're dealing with sexual abuse or whatever that is. And we may have to work with some people, human trafficking. That's 2 to 5 years. So as we work with people, client-centered, trauma-informed, it's up to 2 years. But it's to get them housed, as quickly as possible. Yeah, that is the goal. And it will be incentivized as we work with the community.
how are they gonna handle the schooling for the kids too, since they're now gonna be, let's say, in a compound? Are they gonna bring schooling into them, or are they gonna put their kids on buses?
Yeah, we have 5 buses that drop kids off right now to our after-school program. So we'll work with the various school districts.
Very commendable thing.
3 blocks away from grade school and
Yeah.
junior high school.
Correct.
Very close.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful location.
But we also want to preserve their dignity as well. And so they'll be kind of back.
Appreciate your service. Thank you.
Okay, Nicole?
I just wanted to speak to the question about following codes and regulations. We've already been talking internally at the City of Coos Bay and have come up with a list of the things starting with land use all the way through making sure sewer lateral is sufficient in size to accommodate the addition of these number of units. So we're working on that. That's something that's being communicated to Salvation Army as part of their planning. I would add to that because of the size of these, they fit into a very specific building code in both state and city's codes. If they were larger, then that would be more accessory dwelling unit size, and that's a whole nother ballgame. So we're very intentionally making these the size that they are. And then I just wanted to maybe add, I don't know if adding is the right word, but just remind everybody the conversation that Major had earlier about, we're bringing families into these spaces. We acknowledge that members of that family group may have challenges with addiction and mental health. It is very much a focus of this team to make sure that family stays whole. So there may be people who are struggling in that family to maintain sobriety, but it is very much the goal to try and keep them as a family unit. And I think that's important and addresses the absence of sometimes male role models in families.
And I noticed that it's 10% of the cost of what they paid in Los Angeles for the same thing.
Yes. That's our render unto Caesar.
I read about the 600,000 per unit in LA some time ago. Anybody else? Andrew?
One thing also I want to add for the future is approved, both tribes, especially if there's tribe members that do live there and families, will be able to coordinate services with the Salvation Army as well at no rate, being that they're tribal members as well, which will help the cost in the future as well. So, and both tribes are taking a look at this as well. We just met with the Confederated Tribes yesterday and the housing department, and they are liking the plans as well, and most likely support in the future as well.
Cool. Anybody else? Matt? I think we're going on for the longest board meeting in my recollection.
Setting new records.
Yeah, I think so.
Matt Wilbanks, Coos Bay. I just wanted to kind of double down on a lot what Rob said. We all had a lot of concerns about this going in, but like Commissioner Taylor said, if there's one organization that I feel I would donate my own money to, it'd be the Salvation Army. They have this. Well, I don't pay any property taxes anymore, so you guys don't get any of that. So they have historically been very well money managed. Most of their donations go to actual programs and not fat CEO salaries and stuff like that. So the major has quelled a lot of my concerns. So I think I'm on basically where Rob is with this. And we can contrast this with, not that Devereaux is doing the same thing. Devereaux doesn't, well, they do have housing, but the pallet housing is different. The main concern for me with my security background was, are these people going to be watched? You're going to have case managers there 2 shifts. You're going to have security on the 3rd shift every hour. This is why we have the problems at the Devereaux Center, where it's turned into an open air drug market. Prostitution, drugs, overdoses. We got a guy who just showed up in town from Josephine or Jackson County. He's overdosed at the Devereaux Center twice in the last 3 weeks because it's a giant mess that nobody manages. This sounds like it's managed properly to me. My other main concern was the tribal involvement, but I think he's quelled that issue too. It's not like they're getting more benefits. It's not like they're actually paying for more than they're probably getting. So I appreciate that. I worked for the tribe for a long time. So my one recommendation would be, and I hate to delay things more than they need to be. All this information is fairly new to us, new to the community at large. You guys have had a little bit more notice. I'd really like a work session, a town hall work session, whatever the heck you want to call it, where we can lay out all this again over a couple hours, the hard numbers, exactly what's going to happen, who's going to be allowed, because people just need to be notified. I'm kind of with Richard on this, so yeah, I'd recommend a work session. If we can delay it a week or 2 and just do something like that, I think the community would really appreciate it.
Okay.
Well, I mean, obviously we're here speaking to you guys because as fiscal agents, you have to make that decision. But I would just remind you that there's 3 entities that are involved in this. And I think by the vote of the advisory board, there is support from those 3 entities. And as fiscal agents, we're here to ask you for the support, but we're doing this more as community partners together. So just keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
I am ready for a vote, and I do respect Matt's concern, but this has been pretty well vetted. I think before it came to us, we heard no complaints. We tend to talk about things. I want to get something to that, so I'm ready to vote.
I'm also sensitive to those concerns for community input. There's a couple of things that mitigate that. Number one is this is not direct county funds. This is a decision regarding allocation of funds that come from the state, which are our funds in a sense, yes, but it's not direct county funds. And also the past history of effective fiscal management on the part of the Salvation Army. So I agree. I think, well, being sensitive to what you're saying, also I would disagree. I don't think we need additional discussion on this. I think we're ready for the vote. I'm ready.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Can I add something to them?
If you like.
The Salvation Army is willing and would invite some type of committee or advisory group as we discuss this as a family. I'd be happy to give the phone numbers to meet with you as how we can solve this as a family.
That'll work.
I like that.
Okay, cool. All right. Next on the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, all of you.
Yep. Okay, any commission reports?
This was a long meeting.
Okay.
That's my report.
That's your report? Well, my report is I've spent a lot of hours on the 2 proclamations about the wind, so that's enough for me. John? No? Okay, so between this and the citizen comments, Kathy, could you come up and introduce the new forestry office manager? I think that's the term. Is it right?
What's that?
Forestry office manager, or is there another?
Business office manager. Yes.
Okay, come on up. Yeah, you have to too.
So I'm technically retired, and this is my replacement.
Smith, Lindsay Kinney.
Who?
Lindsay Kinney.
Hi, Lindsay.
Lindsay, okay.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So she'll be taking over
Yes.
now, or the end of the month. When?
Well, she is. She's full-time and I'm just working,
Oh, you're
less
coming
than
back
half-time.
helping?
Yeah, to help out. Yeah.
Kind of a transition type of thing.
Full training.
Okay, cool. Lindsay,
So.
gotta get it in my head.
And so you know, being a business manager at the forestry office seems to be a family job. Lindsay, far and away, was the best, most qualified candidate we had. She also happens to be Kathy's daughter. And
Oh, I had no idea.
Get it out of the bag.
and no, we should have that out in the open. And also, I want to welcome you, and I want to say thank you. We'll miss you.
Yeah.
Glad to have you,
Yeah.
Lindsay.
Kathy's been here for a long time. How many years was it?
34 and a half.
Wow. Yeah. All righty. Citizen comments, Melissa Green.
What are you here for?
Commissioners?
Hi, Melissa.
You bring lunch?
Melissa Green, representing Friends of the Allegheny Historic Cemetery.
Uh-huh.
And you know what I'm gonna talk about.
Really?
You
We're
have
gonna do
the
this
tool, sorry?
We're gonna do this again.
We're gonna do
shortly.
this again.
Next week.
You wanna do it twice?
Hey, I didn't get notice of anything, so I'll start us out here. I'll refresh
Now,
us.
Before you get started, let me look here. So on the 2nd at 1:30, right here, November 2nd, right here at 1:30, we're gonna talk about the same thing I think you wanna talk about. Am I right?
I have not been informed of this.
You're
It
gonna
will be
talk
the only
about-
thing we talk about then.
You're gonna talk
Be fully
about the
dedicated.
church
Okay.
and the cemetery and stuff?
I know I asked for a report a couple weeks ago and told that was in the planning, but I had not been advised of that.
It is on the calendar for the 2nd at 1:30.
Yep.
Fantastic. That it reminds me of a joke around our household that, honey, have you finished your homework? I've almost started. So,
So that's,
if I may,
that's next week, Thursday.
okay.
Okay. All right.
Shall
Go
I
ahead.
go ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You have the tools, you have the ability to take care of this issue today. County officials had the authority and the law to remedy this situation 2 years ago. But no one has been willing to actually step up and protect the legally dedicated deeded public access rights on Church Road. It has been nearly 8 months since a formal request for legalization was made. You have broad jurisdictional powers over roads. You have state statutes and legal precedent specifically designed for this very situation. I'm not being flippant. You can fix this situation today. At some point, it becomes reasonable to consider the county complicit in denying descendants from honoring their ancestors in our cemetery. Complicit in denying citizens of Allegheny access to the church. Do you know what they normally do this time of year? They gather with volunteers to put together hundreds of Christmas boxes to send to children overseas. Can you justify allowing another year to go by without standing up for and protecting their right to gather on their private property this season? Church Road is a legally dedicated, deeded public access road for use at all times by the public. It has been for well over 100 years. There is nothing in the public record. There is no legal action which has negated this status. 57 years ago, when the Coos Bay School District sold the old schoolhouse to the church, the public access it had enjoyed since 1885 was deeded along with the property. That's 138 years of uninterrupted public access. Oh wait, 136 years because minus the last 2 years because the county has allowed an individual to install a gate and block access to our cemetery and to private property beyond the gate. These facts are not in dispute.
So please ask yourselves, do I feel justified? Do I have relevant, verified facts which negate the access rights of the public such that I am willing to keep them from their cemetery and their church? If not, based on the established facts of record and statewide precedent, take action today. Please, no more delays. Please don't make us wait any longer.
Thank you.
I'll tell you right now, it won't happen today. We'll have a decision.
Tomorrow?
No, you know better. I'll be up for it. It's not.
Okay, so the second, 1:30.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Very good.
Okay. Andy Anderson? No, this is just public comment. Andy Anderson. Now are there two of you? Because it's down here twice.
I only signed it once.
Hi, Andy.
Huh?
Nice to see you.
Somebody's got Andy Anderson twice here.
I don't know why.
Okay. Well, we'll mark both of y'all.
Okay, so I'm here to talk about the same thing.
Uh-huh.
And I would like to thank you for your help in this matter. And I know that there's been a survey done, and the results of the survey have been forwarded on to county council. Is that correct? And now the board is waiting for feedback about the legalities. Is that where we're at now?
We had our surveyor look into it, and he has put together a report that he plans on sharing on the Saturday.
Okay. And do you know when that will take place?
Next Thursday, Wednesday.
Next-
Not day after tomorrow.
Next week, next Thursday.
Yeah, November 2nd at 1:30 p.m. right here.
Okay.
We also intend on having Robert Rick, our road master there.
Survey.
Okay. So we take this opportunity to kind of put this into perspective for some people who have questions. So I don't know where you guys live. Some of you probably live in town on a street, and maybe some of you live out in the county on a road. And you're used to having traffic go by your house every day. Cars come and go, and UPS makes deliveries. And one day, I'm your neighbor, and I wake up and I say, you know what? I don't like all these cars going by my street. So I'm going to block off the road and stop this traffic. Well, just think about if that was your street or your road where you live, having that street or road blocked off so that people couldn't come and go. I mean, just the idea is ludicrous.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's only one decision that can be made about this, and that's that a public road like that cannot be blocked. So thank you very much for your time today, Joe.
Thank you, Andy. I'd like to interject here. Most of you have heard me say this before, but some of you may not have. This issue in Allegheny is absolutely ridiculous. It should never have been an issue at all. The reality is that the interests of all interested parties, be they residents, be they church members, be they accessing the cemetery, all parties are served by the presence of a gate there to keep people out who shouldn't be up there. But when one individual takes upon himself to control that access and limits that access to the other interested parties, then this is what we get. A surveyor, the county surveyor involved, the county council involved, 2 county councils involved, the commissioners involved, wasting everybody's time for nothing. So anyway, I'm incensed about it. It should not be that way. There should be a gate. I think there should be a gate, and that every member of the church who wants a fob to that gate should have one. That would protect the interests of the residents, of the church members, of Cody and his family, and the safety of the cemetery as well. So that's my perspective. Sorry, but that's what I think.
Could I interrupt just for a second? May I interrupt for a second? But public comment is a time when people should feel comfortable and free to get up and say what they wish to say. And I appreciate the sentiment, but if instead of clapping, you were booing, it would really make it difficult for people to get up. And even your clapping makes it difficult for people who might have a different opinion to get up. And the whole purpose of public comment is to have polite, civil, open exchange of opinions. So please, can you not applaud and don't sigh and don't boo? We've asked people to leave the room when that's happened in times past. So I ask you to respect the process.
Okay, Kendra Hardwood.
Kendra Cardwell, Allegheny, Oregon. I would like to say about the clapping, this has been going on for like 4 years now, okay? This didn't just happen yesterday. And so there is several people in our community that are really, really angry about this, but also frustrated. I don't know how many times I've been to this meeting. I've talked to not you, but a different council member. We've tried to talk to everybody that we could possibly talk to that would help us alleviate this situation. And what I get out of it is I'm being patted on the head and sent out the door, being told what I want to hear. Nothing is getting done. And what's happened, that's what it feels like to me. I'm not attacking you. I'm not saying that's how it is. But for us, 4 years later, it really does feel that way. We're not allowed to have Bible study at our church. We can't have it on Wednesdays. We can't have it on Sundays. Not only do we get together and put boxes together for third world children for Christmas, but we also do it for Coos County children too. That's not happening. We can't get together to do this stuff. We can't have weddings. We can't have funerals. We cannot get together. We just had a wedding for somebody in our congregation. We had to do it at the community center. They wanted to get married in their church. We were not allowed to do that. We were not allowed to give that to them. So we are very, very frustrated. And we're also frustrated with the commissioners because we went to lawyers, we've went to council, we've come to you guys, but we just feel like this is a slug snail kind of a thing. There's OR statutes in place right now that talk about 100-year-old cemeteries that cannot be blocked. So there are statutes in place that could help us right now to get up the road. But none of that's happening. So we're just asking you, and I would have not come up here if I could have attend the meeting. I didn't know anything about this meeting you're talking about next week, and I'm not gonna be here. I'm gonna be out of town. Otherwise, I would have just waited. But the bottom line is that you're hearing frustration and just downright, we're just discouraged at this point. We can't go out and buy any more property to build another church. There's none available. We have explored just about every avenue so that we don't have to deal with this person. I'm afraid somebody's going to get hurt or killed, quite frankly. I particularly have been accosted on several occasions. One where I was told that I was threatened that he was going to open the gate and hit my car. So this is a very, very, this situation can turn ugly in a minute. And we're just asking you to please do whatever you can legally to help us get this fixed, because we don't want anything. We don't want to be fighting with our neighbors. We don't want to be angry at anybody. We just want to go to our church when we want to go to our church. So that's all we're asking for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Phil Thompson.
Phil Thompson, Coos Bay.
Hi, Phil.
And I'm back to a road, but not none I've talked about before. If any of you, I know everybody's familiar when you leave Elmore and go to Charleston, where the old sewer plant was, okay? That is a way Stephanie Kilmer here, it's been a couple of years back when the city wanted to do something there, she said, you know, the public, that's one of the places they have to get into the beach and stuff there, big clams walk, whatever. And so they ended up, the city didn't do it. She spoke up for the citizens' right to have a place to go. But if you look from there towards Charleston, I think you have 3, maybe 4 legal places you can go down to the beach to dig clams and stuff. And one of them is right out, it's on, I wrote it down, Oleson. It's Oleson. And you turn down Oleson, and then you make a right there at the big church. And that's Wygan, or it's W-Y-G-A-N-T. There's 2 houses there, and there's a right of way to the beach, or to the mud flats. It's been there for, I know, gosh, it had to be 50 years because I've been going out there most of those times. But in the last, I want to say 5 years or so, it's getting narrow and narrow to get to the beach. Whoever's living there, and the house's number is 64723, and the other side of the right of way is 64736. That right of way goes right between their houses and down on mud flats. Well, they've been filling it in, the back end of it. And now it's narrowed down to probably less than 3 foot wide where you can walk down after you go in that right of way. They've got it filled in and stuff. And 2 weeks ago, you couldn't even get down there. And I asked the guy that lived in the house, working there at the house to the left, I said, is this still a public right of way? He said, yeah. I said, well, how come you blocking it off? You dumped a bunch of bricks and stuff like that. I said, well, I want to go down there. And I talked to him. He said, well, I'll move them bricks. Well, I went out there one day this past week, and he did. But he's got them strewed all around. You break your leg trying to get down there. And the road should probably, I'd say, it's at least 10 foot wide. I've never measured. But now you've only got about that much to where you can walk down to the mud flats. And they've done a lot of work on those houses and improvement. And I say what they're going to eventually do is they're going to probably adversely
adverse possession.
Yes, I can't even get it out of my scoop. And we're going to lose the whole darn thing, John.
You
You
cannot
can't
adverse-
wait any longer, somebody's gonna
No,
have to
you
do
can't
something.
adverse possess public property.
Well, they gonna do something.
They can do
Because
that.
you ain't gonna be able to get down there. So they gonna be using the property there. There's no other use for it except for the public to go down
They got
there
that.
and spend there many years.
They
I
can't.
know school teachers, and a lot of my friends go down there and dig clams and they get sand shrimp.
That's good.
And so I would like for somebody to please, I don't care if you knock the whole thing down, but just make it where we can go down there and dig our clams and get the sand shrimp.
Mhm.
That's all I'm asking.
All
Thank
righty.
you.
I thank you.
Matt, where's Matt? Did he leave? Matt's gone? Irene. Irene? Ah, there's Irene.
Thanks for your patience.
Long wait.
4 years and 3 hours.
Yeah, so I'll make it quick because I didn't know about the next week meeting, but I don't know if I'll be able to make it, so I wanted to still
Uh-huh.
talk real quick. So I'm Irene Harlow from Allegheny. I'm not a church member, but my husband and I are very active with the community and members of the church. And we just wanted to express, you were saying, give all the community members or all the church members a clicker. Well, what about me as a resident who will go up there and maybe I'm going to stop up and talk to Debbie? Or when the fire happened, me and my husband kept a cooler full of Gatorade and water up there, which was complained about by the person that has the gate, because the firemen were going through the gate and going up to get water and Gatorade from the church. So this is this is not just the church or just the cemetery.
Right.
You're affecting a whole community. I was talking to another member. She was actually being followed one day. This was before the gate was up there. And she drove up to this church as a safety because she was being followed. We have no pastor, no family living in that church because they were ran off by the aggression that was talked about in this gate because the kids were scared. Okay, so this is not the church. This is not the cemetery. It's a whole community that needs that public road that has a county sign that says church road that should have access. That gate you're saying is protecting the community. I don't know how many houses are there, and I'm not saying that houses shouldn't be protected, but is there 4 or 5? Does anybody know? 4? There's 4 houses in the church. That gate is not protecting the community. It's protecting those 4 houses. The church can't even get heat, so the church is not allowed to have the oil truck come up and put heat to their church. I'm sorry.
You're talking
I'm sorry, guys.
You're here,
I mean,
you're here to, they know that. You're here to tell us.
not everybody.
Yeah.
There's people that don't know, you know, that
Yep, you're still here to tell us.
Okay, so it's just really important and that people know that this is not about just the church, it's the whole community. As a community member, you know, I respect the church, I respect the cemetery, and I think it's great that they're advocating, and I wish with them as well that this has been resolved before. You know, we had a fire up there and had to hope that the gate was gonna be unlocked so the fire people could get up there. And if he had been there to unlock it, what would have happened?
Well, you tear the gate out.
Well, but
you
I'm
throw
just
a
saying-
chain on it and back the truck out.
Which somebody did.
Frankly, if
Which
I
somebody
lived up there, I would have done that years ago. I don't know what you guys are waiting for.
Somebody
But,
actually
you
did
know.
do that, and we put it back up. So,
Yeah, well,
anyways, I just want to make sure that the committee knows and that you guys know that this is not just about the church.
Yeah.
You know, we're rural. It's a safety haven. There's no pastor in the family there because of this situation, and it's really sad to see that it's went on this long. And that even as a community member that doesn't go to the church, I have one up there. That the firefighters up there with permission of the church. It's a resource for the community in more ways than just for the church members. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Rob.
Oh, shoot. Rob Taylor, Bandit. Guys, I've got I think I've said it 3 times now. Problem, reaction, solution. Government's great at doing it. We have been going all over the counties, up and down the coast. We've been spending a lot of times at the BOEM meetings. I mean, it's like for the last month, I've dedicated my whole life to fighting windmills. I feel like Don Quixote in the Man of La Mancha. I should have got the Man of La Macho. I don't know. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of dedication. I don't complain about it because we're activists and that's what we do. But we went down to Douglas County, Bob, and not Court Boys, Chris Boys came out and
you mean oh yeah, over
Chris
North
Boyce,
Point.
yeah, he was over in Douglas County, and we drove all the way down there, an hour and a half. We left at 7 in the morning, and we were going to make public comment, and we would go to sign in, and they go, well, you can only comment on things that are on the agenda. So we weren't even allowed to comment after driving all the way. And of course, Chris comes out, and I said, Chris, can we please comment on this? We drove an hour and a half. He says, well, we don't want to open up those floodgates of having people actually make public comments. So I want to give you congratulations. I know you shut that off, but man, this has been a much better meeting than what they have in Douglas County, and he's damn lucky I don't live there because I'd be tearing in him like a wolf into a deer. And so it's like we're just very happy that you guys have these meetings the way you do, because even though, what is it, 3 in the morning yet? And so thank you for doing that. And I just wanted to give you
to lunch.
Yeah,
pretty
because
hungry
we
up
have,
here.
right now, we have 40 minutes until our next meeting.
40
so
minutes.
Anybody who wants to order lunch, that would be great.
Okay, who's Robert Hill?
Robert Hill, North Bend, Oregon. I didn't know about the meeting next week about the gate in front of the church. I'll try to be brief. I've been the interim pastor guest speaker there for about a year now. And I know we've heard it before, but it just does not seem right that someone can block access to our church, that we just can't get up there during the week. Okay, Cynthia, will you raise your hand? Okay. That lovely lady, as youthful in spirit as ever, she's our worship leader. She can't climb up that hill to practice during the week. Our worship team can't rehearse to perform in front of the church. I mean, it's just one thing after another. This is ludicrous. So I'll leave it at that and ask you, gentlemen, to please do the right thing and give us access to our church. Thank you.
And Don Peabody. And then anybody else who hasn't signed up.
On the way up, I do want to thank Rod for his comments about people in unjust gates and a commissioner endorsing throwing a chain on an unjust gate and ripping it out with your pickup truck.
Here it comes.
Thanks for that.
Oh, welcome today, Don.
Government derives its just powers to govern by the consent of the governed. Is it just that the people of Coos County are punished in their God-given rights by that government for the illegal actions of a few? Will those people of Coos County consent to a policy that denies those rights endowed by their Creator? That's the question before us today. To that question, I rise with a specific policy of the closure of the Coos County Forest to all for the actions of a few who disregard existing laws. Of that question, I have resolved to put it to the people of the county to directly decide. Service of that resolution this morning, it seems like yesterday, this morning I filed a citizens initiative with the Coos County Clerk. That initiative will strike section 06.0.010 and all its subsections. It will create a citizens board that will be established to determine any closure of the Coos County Forest. Determines the makeup and the eligibility of the committee members. It dictates how long, both in single closures and per annum, that the Coos County Forest roads may be closed, and it creates penalties for any public official that seeks to subvert that new code through action, intimidation, or coercion. I have a copy here for your review if you'd like it. I have a copy for anybody else who would like a copy of that as well.
You give it to council.
I'll lay them on the table at the end. Oh, look at that. That's where that went to. In that briefcase are $25,000 bundles of $50 bills. That adds up to $100,000. That's the money I am going to use to pass this legislation. When I leave here, it will go right back into an account, so it won't be at my house and I won't carry it on my person other than today. But I'm going to use that money to pass it because I don't believe the people of Coos County will agree with the denial of their God-given rights as it pertains to using the forest on behalf of the illegal actions of the few any more than they would for their Second Amendment rights, which you guys have supported that same reason in the past. Especially when the tools to solve the problems that you state cause the forest closure are at your hands and you simply refuse to use them or to enact them or do them. So you can see how serious I am about pursuing legal remedies for this situation. About how serious I am about supporting not just my rights, but the rights of the people of Coos County who may not have personal access or ownership to large tracts of forest land like the three of you do. I guess the second question this morning would be, how serious are you in taking those rights away from you?
Okay, thank you. Anybody else that didn't sign up? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Yeah, just real quick. I'm Kevin Cruz, Allegheny. I grew up there.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin. Anyway, I have a suggestion. It solves the problem for everyone. Why did Blaine and Cody just build a fence around their house? It says Church Road because it's been a church for a long, long time. And everybody up there just wants access to the church and the cemetery. That's it.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. We are adjourned.